If you've ever set up a bunch of good till cancel crypto orders, hoping that they get filled at some pullback in the future or in the present, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's pre-market playbook. Today for March 4th, Tuesday, March 4th, we got red arrows across the board. We've got a tariff tantrum, terrifying developments. We got all that stuff to break down. Say it's a T3 Tuesday. Let's go ahead and roll it. All right, folks. Hello and good morning and welcome back to Benzinga's pre-market playbook, where we are going to go through all of the stuff that is currently affecting the market. We're going to get you set up for the opening print here. Quick look around the board. Futures are under pressure. Terrifying developments indeed. S&P futures down 0.6% here. Dow futures down over 0.3, and the NASDAQ down almost 0.7 here. So looks like we're about to gap down. The big thing from yesterday, we were trading up. I had said at the morning in the pre-market before the market even opened, the thing to note is going to be whether or not this can hold. It, of course, didn't. It had really no support. It did try to bounce a few times. It was holding in there where we were on the show, but as soon as the show ended, almost as if our show was propping up the market or something like that. As soon as our show ended, we really kind of took a spill, and we're at actually below the low from January 2nd. So we've given back all of our gains here. I want to say good morning to everybody. Charles, good morning. Can you take a look at Acon? Sure. Let me add this to the list here. I don't have anything prepared, but we'll take a look at Acon here. Reason for yesterday, but also why do you think the stock tumbled from 231 last April to 650? Oh gosh. We could take a look at that, Charles. I suspect there's a split in there, but we'll look. Added to the list there. Crimp Biscuit, good morning. Elkner, good morning. Rickster, good morning. Market Sniper, we're going to need you today, boss. We're going to need you to snipe some new setups here today. It looks like a rough one out there, and to be quite honest with you, I don't feel great about anything, at least not yet. But good morning. Welcome back. Paul, good morning. It's great to see you, as always, reaching financial freedom. We are one step closer, as we are every day, to reaching financial freedom. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Sun-Kissed Yogi, welcome back. Big Swole Gaiman, absolutely love that handle, dude. Welcome back. Chuck, welcome back. It's good to see you. Jonathan, welcome back. Couch Potato, on his couch, ready to roll. Bernhard, welcome back. Producer, you're doing well. Seniet, good morning. We are going to go over Target and Best Buy. Don't worry, those both reported earnings here this morning, as well as ON. We'll take a look at all of that. Day Trader, good morning. Got to know, what do you see in the crypto market? What levels are you looking for? Stock in this Solana sell-off here. Going to try and add some of that here in the near future. I guess I shouldn't even say add, right? Initiate a new position. White Chocolate Mocha, good morning. Seahorse Trading, good morning. JJ, good morning. Ed, good morning. Jay Great, good morning. Drew, good morning. HD Hoods, let's go. Good morning. Florian, good morning. First time here. Whoa, welcome. We're going to give you a one-up for joining us here, Florian. I hope that you enjoy yourself. We're all about community, having fun, and trying to figure out what's going on. So I hope you enjoy yourself. Ashok, good morning. Good to see you again. Captain Cloudy, locked in. Hellcat, good morning. Cal, good morning. Big Bees, welcome back, buddy. Hustle and Bustle. Jane, we're ready to go. Let's go ahead and dive right in. What's going on, Whis? Good morning. And Seco, that's Coco G. All right, Coco. Let's get it rolled. Let's first start by taking a look here at the SPY. Again, what I was saying here earlier is we are pretty much right at the low from Thursday, January 2nd. This was the first trading day of 2025. That intraday low, 580.50. 580.50, and our current price 579.59. SPY is leaking here. We're actually below. If we look inside, I think just now, yep, we are below yesterday's intraday low. So market certainly seems like it's setting up for a gap down here on the tariff headlines. We'll see if it's able to kind of catch its footing anywhere or bounce anywhere, but the levels that where we're at here, this is what I want you to pay attention to. So we took care of the 5% pullback level yesterday. We tested it. We actually peaked below it. We closed above it today. We're moving below it. So the 5% pullback now locked in. The next downside spot that I have is 8 points away from where we're currently at. That's going to be the 200-day moving average, 571.11. Now, to give you an idea of the significance of this, let's look back in time at the last time the SPY actually touched the 200-day. Okay, that's this blue line that you see here on the chart, and I have it right. Oh no, did I just mess up that level? Oh no, Ryan, how did you do that? How did you do that? How could you be such an idiot? Okay, the last time that we were at the 200-day, we actually broke beneath it right here on October of 2023. We spent what, maybe a week plus beneath the 200-day before recapturing it here in November of 2023, and then going on this huge run, all right, to where we currently find ourselves. So do we pull back? Do we test this 200-day? I think this is our next target. So my call here, I think we are going to move down to that 571. I haven't opened up a position on that yet today, but I am looking at that. And I will further give you my trading plan. As we've been doing, or as I've been doing over the past couple of weeks, I've really kind of backed off a little bit and tried to be a little bit more conservative. So what I'm thinking, what we might see here today is some type of gap down, maybe even a flush type feeling, and then maybe a bounce. We've seen this before. So if we get that here, if we get a bounce back here, I will be looking for puts for the 570 area. We'll see. We're going to pay attention to some of the open interest. We're going to pay attention to what some of the other stocks are going to do and all of that. But if we bounce and we're unable to really kind of show some strength and negate some of the weakness that we are very clearly seeing with some of the macro headlines that we have going on, I think we might look for a play down to 570. I actually wouldn't be shocked if we dip beneath this. As we saw the last time that we came into the 200-day, we spent just over a week under that 200-day before recapturing it. We'll see if this is any different. Furthermore, if it is just a disaster out there and we're not able to find any support, or we plunge through the 200-day, or the selling does not abate or maybe even intensifies because we break the 200-day to the downside, the next level that I have down here, 551.91, and that represents the 10% pullback level. Now, we've talked a lot about what actually makes a correction and what makes a regular pullback. Remember, I have been quoting other professionals that have been doing this for a long time. 5%, really not that much. In fact, we had Matt Maley on yesterday. He said the same thing. Talked to Kenny Polcari. He said that he tweeted the same thing. So I don't want to necessarily freak out because we're at a 5% pullback level. And again, the long-term view here is let's keep bringing this in. Let's keep resetting some of these valuations and get quality stocks and quality companies at discounted prices. So this is pretty much what I have for the SPY. We're definitely going to take a look at Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin, just a quick look here. Bitcoin is up off the lows of the morning, but still down here at an 83K handle. Actually looks like it's going to test 84K here. We'll see if we have the strength to get above that. But whatever your trade plans out there, I definitely want to hear it. If you're not trading, totally get it. Totally get it. And I want to, that's the other thing that I want to, we're actually going to talk about that. Let me actually bring up some of the quotes and I'll weave this all together here. So that's what I got for the SPY. Let me know if you have any other levels or targets or feelings about the SPY. I'd like to go over them here as a group. But first, let's talk about this news story here. U.S. futures tumble as traders await Trump's Congress address. Volatility is certainly being fed by Trump 2.0 moves, says expert. I would agree with that wholeheartedly here. So, okay, couple of things that I wanted to mention here. There's no room left, so we're going to go ahead with the tariffs. That was the news that we got yesterday. Here's a couple of things that I wanted to go over. Cues from the last session. These are things that I want to take a look at every single day. Real estate, consumer staples, healthcare, and utilities were the only sectors that advanced on Monday. The market witnessed the second worst trading day of March ever as information technology, energy, consumer discretionary, and materials led the decline. On the economic front, February's S&P final U.S. manufacturing PMI came in at 52.7 as compared to the preliminary reading of 51.6. This was a 32-month high, signaling an improvement in the health of the manufacturing sector. So there we go. We have real estate, consumer staples, and healthcare and utilities being the only sectors that advance. This pretty much shows us that we're definitely rotating out of some of the tech and the high flyer names. We've known this for a while, but that obviously continues here. And what's interesting is that the manufacturing sector is showing some signs of improvement. Now, we're going to need a lot more than that to draw any long-term conclusions, but this is a notable data point, at least early on. The ISM manufacturing PMI rose to 50.3 in February of 2025, indicating a second consecutive month of slight expansion for U.S. manufacturing. In January, private residential construction spending decreased 0.4%, with notable reductions in both multifamily construction and home improvement expenditures. Hustle and bustle. Not to put you on the spot, but I would like to get your opinion on the housing market, how this plays into the rest of the economy, and just things that you're seeing in your professional career. I think a lot of that stuff is kind of tied together, and I love getting updates from those that are professionals in their field. Going on here with a couple of quotes and some stats here that I think that you folks should be aware of. Ryan Dietrich of Carson Research noted that historically stocks average a 28% gain a year after such bearish readings, although exceptions like 2008, exist. So just because we identify patterns in previous performance or previous statistics, this is a good reminder that that doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen in the future. It's not set in stone, but we do try and use as much data as we can to make educated decisions. So just because it's like that a lot of the time doesn't mean that it is a guarantee. He observed that even at a 55% bearish threshold, returns are generally strong. Dietrich suggests that barring a financial crisis, which he deems unlikely, I would agree with that, quote, investors willing to stay strong and not panic sell, end quote, could see significant gains. And this is really what I want to focus on. It's the panic selling that really hurts people. And it's the panic selling that has really got me over the years. My worst trades, except for one of the companies that they uncovered fraud at, my worst trades were ones where I looked at the market and I reacted and I frankly panic sold. And so that's what we want to avoid. The best way to avoid this, know what you own, be properly risked, and not feel like everything is changing with the wind. When that happens, you make this job that's already difficult exponentially harder. And these are the things that we want to try to avoid. I just wanted to go on here talking about the effects on Trump's policies on the market. The chairman and CEO of Navalier and Associates, Louis Navalier, who we talked to last week, says, quote, the volatility is certainly being fed by Trump 2.0 moves, with the tariffs scheduled to be launched soon. So we kind of heard about that last week. We're getting more of that here today. Economist Jeremy Siegel, who goes on CNBC all the time, on the other hand, stated that investors are taking profits from high-flying tech and reconsidering value stocks. How about that? Almost as if Tim Melvin was on that, right? So surprised that that is the case. Not. However, he added that slowing economic growth could hamper the value stocks as well. In a weakening economy, all stocks face challenges, though dividend paying and more defensive equities may benefit from lower interest rates. So again, I know that we often do a lot of active trading here. We're constantly scanning. We're constantly looking for new opportunities. We're sharing them with one another, which is one of my favorite parts here of what we do. But it's important to know that a well-constructed portfolio is going to have positions that have different time horizons and different risk tolerances. Here you go. Jeremy Siegel, famed economist, is telling you that basically the Tim Melvin method is a good method in times like this. There was someone here in the chat yesterday, I can't remember who it was, but there was someone in the chat yesterday that was saying, hey, all of Tim Melvin's positions are green. Maybe it wasn't yesterday, maybe it was last week, because we've been selling off for a while, but there were, you folks were even noticing that. So I do have a nice healthy mixture of dividend stocks, and I'll be honest with you, those are all up. they're actually even up on a cost basis. They're actually up from where I bought them in addition to paying dividends. And I'll be honest, this is one of my quote unquote hacks for getting through times like this. You guys know that I'm holding ONDS, which is getting destroyed every single day. But because my portfolio has been managed and kind of diversified into different positions, such as Tim Melvin's long-term dividend positions and just dividend positions in general, and things like Apple, quality companies that I've been invested in for a long time, it's not the end of the world. And it's easier for me to control my emotion and stick to my plan and avoid the panic selling. That is the key. Avoid the panic selling. The panic selling needs to stop, but the institutions are still dumping. Why can't the institutions hold? So that's a good question. The key takeaway from here, I'm going to try and divert this a little bit because I really think that the key takeaway here is instead of looking at what others are doing, look inward. If you're going to know what, or if you're going to look at what the market is doing and make a decision based on that, I don't think that's a bad move. But I think that you should always have a plan and a time horizon for some of the long-term trades. For some of the things that I invest in, I understand that I may not see or use that money for a number of years. But every single day, I'm going to synthesize information that the market gives me and prices that the market gives me, and I'm going to make a plan going forward. That shouldn't necessarily affect my long-term plan unless something changes with that specific thesis. That's just a long way of saying I'm going to try to stop from being freaked out from the market unless there is a really good reason to do so. And I use this example all the time because it's the easiest to understand. If Apple puts out a press release and says, you know what, I don't think we're going to sell the iPhone anymore, then my position that I've been invested in and made a ton of money and collected dividends on, the thesis is now different, right? The entire plan of me owning that stock is that not only do they keep making iPhones, but they keep selling iPhones and they keep refreshing people's iPhones when they upgrade from old ones to new ones. If that changes, so too does my thought process. Market tantrums, market pullbacks, as long as my thesis is intact, that shouldn't shake me from my plan, and that is what I am trying to do. And my goal here is for, in a perfect world, and by no means do we have a perfect world, but in a perfect world here, whenever we see a sell-off, we think to ourselves, okay, we can handle this. What do we do next? What do we look to add next? Things of that nature. So I just, again, want to kind of turn this into a mechanical, easy to digest process. And it's hard. It's hard when you see a bunch of red arrows. It's hard when you see red arrows in your portfolio. All of that stuff is hard, believe me. But we can do it. All right. Next, let's talk about some crypto. Who's ready to talk about some crypto? Oh, I did want to go over some of those comments here real quick. Hustle and Bustle, I had asked for your residential expertise. You said we are slow. Growth is less than we have become familiar with. Indeed. Okay, so you're still kind of seeing that out there. There's also a wealth effect that cannot be denied. When the market drops, people are less comfortable moving. Okay, so let's talk about this really quick because Hustle and Bustle, this is a really, really good point, and you are spot on. Before we dive into the crypto, although the crypto move can also affect this, let's discuss the wealth effect. What you're talking about here is a negative wealth effect. So when markets sell off, and people look at their 401k statements or their investments or their brokerage accounts, or in 2025 here, maybe their crypto accounts, and they see red arrows across the board, the natural tendency is I have less money. So what do? I'm going to tighten up my spending. Maybe it's less restaurant trips. Maybe it's not getting a new car. Maybe it's not moving, which is what Hustle and Bustle here is saying. And again, one of the big things that's kind of making this happen is everyone, I am confident saying that close to 100% of the viewers here that have something like a 401k or some type of investment plan, either through work or through a financial advisor, you have exposure to NVIDIA in one way or another. So when NVIDIA gets clobbered or really hasn't been going up since October of last year, that kind of builds and you start to get this negative wealth effect. That also works in the opposite. There's also a positive wealth effect. So when things are going gangbusters and NVIDIA trades up 2% every single day, You get a positive wealth effect. And this hustle and bustle, I think that you're spot on with this. And I think that we're going to see some of this. If the market continues to sell off, if it continues to have just this general malaise and more people are checking their financial statements and checking their 401k, even those that are not active, us here, we check this stuff every day. It's like we're addicted to it. But those that are not really connected to the market that start opening these statements and are like, oh my God, what's going on? Imagine all of that hard-earned money and what they think. So this wealth effect comment, spot on, hustle and bustle. I definitely wanted to take a couple of seconds to go over that. Okay. Can someone write his name? Tim Melvin. Melvin, Melvin. He was a guest in the pre-market yesterday morning, and he is a regular guest on Wednesday mornings at 8:30. So join us tomorrow for 8:30, and you'll get to see him and the spelling of his name. Okay, so I just want to go through here. Yo, you guys, there's so much in here. I can't possibly read all that, but this is awesome. Paul, here, buy on red days in your investment accounts. Wait 30 years and you'll thank yourself. So there's an old adage here. You should be buying when others are crying, and you should be selling when others are yelling. So when there's blood on the streets, when everything's red, when stocks are really getting hit, that's when you should buy, especially if you have a long-term approach. Now, with that being said here, let's not be haphazard about this. Let's be very technical, and let's not throw out the baby with the bathwater. We will still want to focus on all of our stock trading thesis. If you have a good thesis on a stock, whether that's Apple or Nvidia or any other stock out there, roll with it. But just because some of these movers are down 60%, it doesn't mean go buy them. Have a plan here. Have a plan on that. Good stuff there, though, Paul. Personally, I'm waiting for mutual funds to come down and max out my Roth IRA. Okay, so this is the exact, Paul, I love this. Instead of looking at a market where we've got a bunch of red arrows, we've got a bunch of selling off, and then everyone is hand-wringing in the media here, you're saying, you know what? I'm actually going to add when things are down. I'm going to add to my long-term investment. And I agree with you, Paul. I think in 30 years, you're going to be able to pat yourself on the back in whatever really badass Christmas sweater you have at that time. And you're going to be able to thank yourself for making the right move. So really good stuff there, Paul, and really good stuff, group, on this. Let's really quickly talk about Bitcoin. We got 8 minutes until we do T3 here today, but let's talk about crypto. I know a lot of you folks are into crypto. Day trader, I saw that you answered my question. I appreciate you. I had asked, tell me about Faloona as I'm stalking an initial entry here. As long as 125 holds, anywhere around 130 is a good entry for Sol. I'll post my updated daily chart on X and tag you when I have the computer on later in the day. I will retweet that here. Awesome stuff, day trader. I appreciate you sharing all of that. That's fantastic. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay. Getting back to the article here, the Sunday rally for crypto, which was a huge pump. The Sunday rally was short-lived as President Trump confirmed the tariffs on Monday. That sent everything plummeting. And here we are looking at some more red arrows here today. Bitcoin dumped to an intraday low of 85,000 a day after the announcement of the strategic cryptocurrency reserve, which powered it above 95,000. So wow, 10K swing here on crypto. Ethereum tanked 13% and Dogecoin took a U-turn, plunging 15%. The pullback liquidated $804 million from cryptocurrency markets in the last 24 hours, with $86 million in long positions being wiped out. However, over $1 billion in short positions risked liquidation if Bitcoin rebounded to 92.30. So very much like we talk about short interest here when we're talking about some of these smaller stocks and trying to identify stocks that might be a potential for a short squeeze. What they're telling you here is that there is a lot of short interest here and what that can mean if we do get a sudden reversal. I will say here with crypto, it's obviously more volatile than some of these stocks, so it wouldn't even be shocked if that happens. The crypto fear and greed index falls back to the quote extreme fear region, fueling concerns of further sell-off. So here you go. If you're the contrarian, if you're buying when people are crying, you are in the extreme fear period here. Couple of other things. Let's see. Also triggered. Nope, that was it. Oh, here. Sorry. This is what I wanted to get to. Crypto Quant. Popular blockchain analytics from firm CryptoQuant noted that Bitcoin short-term holders were experiencing modest losses, which could spur accumulation as prices decline. For Bitcoin to retest its all-time highs, a substantial bullish impulse is required, marked by a breakthrough of the short-term high cost basis level of 90 to 91,000 and the ability to maintain prices above this threshold to restore short-term investor confidence. So what this is basically saying is we need a bounce and we need it pretty soon. And if we do that, some of the short-term fears might be alleviated. And if we really reach some of these levels, we can kind of turn that into some long-term bullishness. I don't know if we're going to see that here. But nice little chart in here. I advise you to read through this article. I'll be honest, as someone that doesn't actively trade Bitcoin and instead is trying to add it on levels where it's significantly cut in terms of its price or it's significantly discounted, I try to follow a lot of these stats all of the time. So the most critical resistance barrier for Bitcoin is 97K, where 2.2 million investors acquired over 1.64 million Bitcoin. Breaking through this supply wall could open doors to new all-time highs. Now, the crypto bears will tell you, I'm still waiting for Jamie Dimon to show up here. The crypto bears will tell you this is the beginning of the big sell-off. And so your opinion on crypto, your risk appetite, and your risk profile are going to determine whether or not you should trade this. My goal here, personally, for myself, is to add in small increments on the way down. And as I said, I set up some good till cancel orders on some of these cryptos at much lower levels in case we capitulate and plunge. But that's what's going on here with the crypto market. Dalwin says, don't be a scarecrow. Indeed, don't be a scarecrow. Don't be a scarecrow. Tom saying, remember, with stocks, they take the elevator down and the stairs up. So you can, and this is one of the things that really kind of strikes at the emotional chords of traders, right? You can watch a position that you got really good entry on, appreciate over time, feel real good about yourself over all of this time, weeks, months, maybe even years, and then bang, one very quick event. The stock price takes the elevator down and you watch these long-awaited gains evaporate in a very short amount of time. It doesn't matter how many years of experience you have. This will never be a good thing to watch. It sucks. It's just how it goes, and how you respond to that, how you position to that, and how you protect yourself from that is really what's going to make you a really good trader. So, okay. This guy says Bitcoin to 50K seems likely. Okay, there we go. C Spot says 72K. Progressive says I'll buy Bitcoin at 25K. Boom, 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 boom. So I love it. You coming up with plans? I don't sense, at least so far, I don't sense from a single person in here that there is any panic out there. And as far as goals today, there were two. Don't panic, capital preservation. Looks to me like we are doing both so far. All right, let's keep rolling here. What do I got next? We have this. Let's go ahead and share this. We are, just a couple of minutes from T3. We'll get to that here shortly. But here we go. S&P sell-off spikes investor pessimism. Bearish sentiment hits a 30-month high. So what you guys were discussing here about buy when there's blood in the streets, buy when they're crying. Here you go. 30-month high for bearish sentiment. But this expert recommends investors to stay strong and not panic sell. Do you see the theme that we're going after here? I hope so, because I am definitely trying to club y'all folks over the head with that theme. As Ryan Dietrich, chief market strategist at Carson Research, in his latest note, the bearish sentiment rose more than 60% for the week ended February 26th. It was the seventh highest time in history since the poll was started in 1987. The 60.6% bearish rating was also the highest in 30 months of September of 2022 and is the third highest rating over the last 10 years, as highlighted by LPL Financial. So again, this entire thing here, this entire article, I advise you to read this. I advise you to go over this. It is all about not panicking. Be tactical with your trades. Be tactical with your plan, and do not let the moment get too big for you. Do not allow yourself to panic. Stay strong in your thesis. Okay, folks, it is just about 8:30 and it's a Tuesday, so you know what that means. It's a T3 Tuesday. Let's go ahead and bring on our special guest. All right, Sami Abusad from T3 Trading. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're doing okay with the tariff tantrum. How are you today?
Good morning. Good to be back. I'm doing well. Thank you.
It is great to have you back. So I'm just going to start off here. First of all, if you have charts and you want to share your screen, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, I can go ahead and drive for you, as they like to say. The first question here is going to be the obvious one. We're going to start with currently facing.
I'm a pure technician, so I just focus on the technical picture, and I stay away from the news. I don't really pay attention to the news, not because I'm not curious about the news. Sometimes I am, but I don't let that come between me and the charts.
Okay, so that sounds like your way of maybe not panicking here is focusing on the charts because you consider yourself a technician. That is, however you do it, that was kind of the overarching theme that I wanted to get across here today. Don't panic for any reason. Looks like you use the charts as your crutch or backbone there. So let's just move right to that. What are some of your best idea? And I want to ask you about stocks and crypto, if that's okay here today. So we're going to start here with stocks. What are some of your best ideas for some of the stock trades or best setups that you might see right now?
Okay, I am trying to share my screen.
You got it. It's on.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, it's hard to find something that looks really good right now that's not going to be affected by the market. And that's why I like the China stocks. I did the BABA and exited at 138 BA. I exited once we got a double top. So this was a really nice move. So I don't think the BABA is quite ready to get back in. But check out the JD because of the monthly chart. Look at that monthly curling 20 MA. Check out the YMM, another China name that I like. Look at that broad rounding bottom on the monthly chart. Another one would be, so I like the China stocks. We just exited the VNet at $15. It's the same exact pattern. So some of my best plays this year have been the China names. So those I like a lot. There are a lot of other US names that I like, such as the PRCH. Again, notice I have the same. It's the same pattern, that nice curling 20-period moving average, that blue line that you see on the monthly chart. So some of these names I like a lot, but I'm not sure that they're not going to be unaffected by the market because they're US companies. So there's this one. There is like the Disney a lot. I think it's setting up, but it's going to be impacted by the market. But like the Disney also. We did the Twilio. We got in at $60 some, got out at 140, same exact pattern. So, I've been trading for 80. Next month will be 18 years since I quit my job from a big four accounting firm. And the biggest thing that I see traders, the biggest reason why traders lose is because they do too many things. And I do a lot of different things too. But if you can just figure out what you like early on and focus most of your time and attention around it, then I think you'll be ahead of the pack, ahead of everybody else. And this is one of those patterns that I absolutely love on the monthly chart. So back to your question, I like the China names a lot. I mentioned a couple in the JD, in the YMM. My platform is over there, so I'm just taking a peek. The BEKE is another one that I'm actually currently in. Let's see, BZ is not bad, but it's probably too early right now. And then there's a few US names that I like, such as the Disney, such as the 3M. I like it actually long term. We played it a couple times last year. And then there's a couple of real estate stocks that I like. MPW is one of them. I think it's probably a little bit early on the MPW. And then the other real estate name was, AHR. I mean, look at the relative strength of the stock.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable relative strength. So it's breaking out. Love it. You can look at it on the daily, the weekly, the monthly. So this is a little bit different than the curling, that transition A breakout that I like. Today, Akata is gapping up, and if it can clear the prior highs, I think that looks pretty good on the monthly chart. So there's a lot of names, just mentioning a few here, but it's mostly the same pattern, that the monthly chart where it's down a lot and then starts to base a little bit and starts to transition higher. That's my favorite pattern of all time.
Okay, and I actually have a couple of questions about that pattern just to kind of dive into it, which is awesome. Folks, we are here with Sami Abussad from T3 Live. Get Sami's simple formula for big profits in his free webinar. We got a QR code right on the screen. The link is in the chat or the description. Okay, so Sami, so you're talking about the curling 20 MA, the 20 moving average on the monthly chart. So can you tell me a little bit? I like the setup. I understand the moving average, but can you tell me what actually triggers your entry and exit? That is to say, are you looking for one or two or multiple closes above a specific moving average level? What's the actual trigger for you to press the buy button and the sell button?
Amazing question. So I look at I'm showing you the monthly chart, but I actually look at the daily, the weekly, and the monthly. I look at all three time frames. When the three time frames are in alignment, that's when I enter. But to make it a little bit less complicated, basically I know that stocks correct either through time by going sideways, in which case, you get the breakout play, or through price by pulling back. So that's the only two ways that stocks correct, either through time or through price. Through time meaning we go sideways, in which case you look for a breakout. Through price by pulling back, in which case you look for a drop back to the 20 MA and then a buy setup. So whichever way they set up in. If you look at Disney, that was a buy setup. So it pulled back to the 20, and then once it popped, long. If you look at Twilio, it was a breakout over the base. So it depends. It all depends on how the stock actually sets up.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that absolutely does. And I think it's probably easiest to see on that Twilio example, because it does really kind of just hug that moving average. And then all of a sudden it starts to break away from it. You actually get that nice little, one of those candles, you actually had that nice little wick down. Same there on Docu. Perfect. That's exactly what we're looking at here. Okay, awesome. So can you actually pinpoint which one of those candles was your entry trigger?
So on Docu, I don't remember exactly, because we got out of both Docu and Twilio, and both we had two entries. But basically, if I were to go back in time on the Docu, it should have been over here on the daily chart. So it should have been like literally this day, like November 15th on the Docu. On the Twilio, there were a couple of entries also. The Twilio was not very pretty on the daily chart, so it was hard to like pull the trigger. But there was a breakout right here, back over here. And then there was another entry once the weekly took out the prior high. Okay, over here. So those were exactly my entries. Now, I don't remember the exact date. I'd have to go to my tracking sheet. But those were the entries. And those were, you might think, oh, well, now you're saying you played those. No, those were actually published in a newsletter ahead of time. So that's what I played. That's what I do all the time. VNet, for example, same exact thing. Once it took out the highs and then out at $15, actually at $15.50, but the published target was $15. So the same exact pattern, basically. It repeats over and over again. And basically, the idea is that you have a stock that collapsed, and then once a stock collapses like this, it, by and large, people lose interest in it because they got hurt. And so it starts to go sideways, and you get that tight pattern, and people are not interested in it again because they got hurt. And then eventually the interest comes back. So as soon as it breaks out, that's when I want to get in it. I don't want to get in it when it pops, 100% or 200%, because by that time it'll be already too late.
Okay, so I can't help it. I can't help it. But man, if that's kind of what happens with some of these bigger stocks from this tariff, maybe that's what we should do. We should wait till they fall out of favor and consolidate, and maybe use some of these moving averages that you're talking about. Not trying to put words in your mouth, but trying to take what you're saying here and kind of spin that forward. So, okay, really, really good stuff. I also wanted to ask you, what are your favorite ideas for crypto? Because the crypto market here also extremely volatile and going crazy. So do you have any setups or maybe favorite crypto tickers that you're looking at?
Probably so here's the thing about crypto. I actually thought that Bitcoin and Solana and all of these bottomed yesterday. And so I picked up I meant to buy 350 shares of Solana. I ended up getting filled on 343. I exited already. But I thought they bottomed yesterday and then they got slammed, and no, it looks like the bottom is not in. Bitcoin, if you look at it, let me just see if I can pull up the chart of Bitcoin. Basically, is looking lower to 70,000 or so. So I would wait on Bitcoin until it gets to the prior top of the base. Let me just see if I can share my chart. There we go. Perfect. So let me show you Bitcoin. So this is Bitcoin. And if you look at the weekly and the monthly, here's the weekly chart. It broke out. So this is where, to me, it's headed down to about 70,000 is what I'm looking at. And when it gets there, that's where I would start to look to buy. The best, and then Solana, I don't know for sure Solana. I'm thinking under 100 or about 100 at $100 or so. This prior low should be the bottom. ETH looks lower to $1,500 or so, right about here. I didn't know you were going to ask me about crypto, but I am an avid crypto trader. The strongest thing out there is XRP. So notice it popped like 250% or so. This is the weekly chart. Here's the monthly. It looks even better. And it's consolidating. It's a little too sloppy right now to mess with it. But that's probably my single favorite idea. I do like the Cardano, but it's a bit messy. I mean, it's all over the place. I don't know if folks can handle that kind of volatility. It goes from 60 cents to $1.20 in one day and then falls back down to now 70 cents. So I don't really recommend it. Again, the favorite, if I had to pick one, would be XRP. And these three, the first three, the Bitcoin around 70, Solana around $100 or so, and ETH around 1,500. That's what I'm basically watching.
Okay, awesome, folks. Sami Abussad, get Sami's simple formula for big profits in his free webinar March 5th at 4:30 p.m. QR code on the screen there, link in the chat. Okay, so let me ask you something. You talked a little bit about the 20-day moving average and setting up for swing trades. Do you have any other types of trades, or maybe any other indicators or anything else that kind of helps you determine whether or not you have a trade on your hand? Or is it just that 20 moving average?
So I do. It's not that I don't, but the 20 moving average, the 20 period moving average simplifies things. It tells you when you should go long. It tells you when you should go short if it's declining. So I like it a lot, and I almost exclusively focus on it to filter out the good from the bad, to filter out the bad trades, basically. So I can talk about other things, but that's really my primary and almost only indicator that I use. It's really the only indicator that I use, except that I also have the 200 period moving average, and I have volume, if you can call those indicators. So the 200, simple, the 20, also simple, and then volume. That's all I really use as far as indicators go. And then the rest of it just depends on price action.
So I can totally appreciate that, because I'm someone that pays a lot of attention to price action and volume and indicator. Yes, as a matter of fact, I think volume is the second most important indicator behind price. Right. So I absolutely think that. Okay. One last thing I did want to get, we'll get you out of here with this. What is something that you're looking for to close a successful swing trade? So let's just assume you've made good entry, you've picked the right asset, the swing trade is working. When do you start to think to yourself, okay, it's time to take gains, and this is why?
So it's very, very simple. If you are in a stock that's just moving up and up and up, the idea is, I don't want to make a recommendation here to never exit, but basically don't exit easily. When the market goes against you, does it let you off the hook easily? It never does. It just keeps going. The same when you're in a swing trade that's actually working in your favor. Don't exit until it starts to go parabolic, or if it's starts to break down and it damages the trend. But if I start to see increasing volume, as you can see on the VNet, also far away from the moving average, and the bars are getting bigger and bigger, that's my indication that it's becoming unsustainable. Okay. You can look at BABA also. BABA, I guess, because these are Chinese stocks, they gap a lot, so they're not as pretty. But basically, again, look at the volume spike. Look at the distance from the 20. So when it gets parabolic, that's when I really start to think about exiting.
Okay, awesome. That is fantastic. Sami Abusad from T3, get his simple formula for big profits in his free webinar. QR code on the screen. The webinar is tomorrow, March 5th, after the market. So, Sami, thank you so much. First of all, we have our audience here is definitely into crypto, and at least from my read here, we're getting more and more into crypto. So, I would say this. First of all, thank you for coming on today. I look forward to speaking with you again, and you can imagine that the next time we have you back, I will in fact ask you about crypto.
Sounds great. Good to be with you, Brian. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Have a great one. That is Sami Abusad from T3. Awesome guest, really, really good stuff there. I hope you folks found that helpful. And I love that one of the cryptos he talked about there was Ripple. You guys have basically been clubbing me over the head to start a position here in Ripple, and it looks like that's going to be one of those favorite cryptos there. So giddy up. We seem to be on the right page, and we are doing it. Okay, really good stuff here, folks. We have not much time before 13 joins us. I did want to take a quick look at some of the other earnings that we have here. Let me go ahead and fix this real quick. Boom, boom. All right. You folks had mentioned earlier, well, let's see. Let me get my note sheet out here. We had Target, Best Buy, and ONON report earnings here today. Let's start with Target, or Target, as they like to call it, ticker TGT here. Excuse me. Target here, important spot on the chart. We actually broke beneath this support level here at 120-ish. So we're down here about 3.2%, looking at about 117 here in the pre-market. We'll go ahead and take a look at that intraday chart here in a sec. Target actually beat on the top and the bottom line here. EPS 241 beat the 226 estimate, and sales of 30.9 billion beat the 30.84 billion here. The reason why this is down, the outlook beat the expectations here. There was definitely talk about tariffs from the CEO here. I believe that CEO either was on CNBC or is scheduled to be on CNBC later today. So that's what's going on here. Target down just about 3.5%. If we take a look here at the chart, we are breaking down to about 117 here. The area of note is going to be right back in here. In my opinion, one of the things that we're going to look for is this 111 to 110 area. This fills a gap. This gap goes back to November of 2023. So that is a pretty significant gap here. That looks like where we're going to next. Let's fill that gap. Let's see if we can actually find any type of support there. If we look beneath that, I've got about 103. Let's call this 100 to 103 as the next support level down. So we're looking just to kind of give you some round numbers. If you want to do your charting and come up with your exact points, giddy up. But right around 110, and then that area between 100 and 103. Really quickly, the other stock that reported earnings here today is going to be Best Buy. This ticker BBY. This is pretty much the same deal in terms of its move here today. Excuse me. Down 3.75% here. And let's see, price here at about $83. So we're looking at right here. To me, this one even easier than Target. We have some pretty stable support here at 80. This coincides with the 500-day moving average and also some of these recent lows. Let me flip over here to the weekly chart. That 100-week moving average also right down there at that $80 level, and the 100-month moving average right down there at that $80 level. For me, Best Buy here, this one seems pretty straightforward. 80 is your big support. If we break that, we'll start looking for some more areas beneath it. I would say maybe even 70. Got a little bit of a gap down here. So $80 is going to be that big support level there. Let me go ahead and give you the numbers here for Best Buy. Q4 2025 adjusted EPS of 258. That beat the 240 estimate. And enterprise revenue of 13.94 billion beat the estimate of 13.7 billion here. Does anyone own Best Buy by chance? They also raised their dividend, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure yes. Best Buy dividend increase from 94 cents to 95 cents. So they raised it 1 penny. Just curious to know if anyone trades Best Buy here. My best Best Buy story is I had a friend tell me that when Best Buy was in the 20s, that it was probably going away because no one bought TVs from Best Buy anymore. They bought them from Amazon. And here we are years later, stock is $90. Just goes to show you. Just goes to show you. Allsorts here asking, will Costco go the same way? Interesting question. Costco, of course, reports on Thursday after the market closes. I would just judging by where I'm sitting here today, I would imagine, being that I'm a huge Costco shopper and proponent, I would imagine that this stock does beat on both of the numbers. Does it trade down? Does it trade up? That much I can't tell you. I would not be shocked if it traded down. And if the market somehow firms up even a little bit over these next 2 days, I wouldn't even be terribly shocked if it moved up a little bit. The normal reaction here for Costco is that unless there's something glowing from the report, it likes to move down a little bit and then very shortly goes higher than that. So we'll see here on Costco. All I know is that you'll probably hear that the $1.50 hot dog deal ain't going anywhere. That's the only thing I feel real confident about saying. Okay, folks, it's that time. We're going to bring on ya boy 13. Let's see how he's doing. 13, how you doing here on this terrifying Tuesday?
Yeah, boy. Okay. I'm doing all right. I'm doing just fine. How are you this morning? How is everybody?
We're doing pretty good. Donald Trump is asking here, where did you get your volume profile visible range indicator? I can't find one on TradingView. Now, this is interesting, Don, because for the longest time, we actually did not have this in our TradingView license, and it did exist on tradingview.com. But just to kind of prove it to you on the screen, we just type in volume profile, and two of the studies that come with the Benzinga Pro charting or TradingView charting element are the volume profile visible range and the volume profile fixed range. The indicator that I'm using here on the chart that you see is in fact the volume profile visible range. And as mentioned before, whenever I readjust the chart, shortly after it recalculates all of those values based on what is visible. The only other piece of advice I can give you is that if you cannot find something in TradingView and you believe that you should have it, reach out to them. They're actually really good at helping. At least in my experience, they've been really good at getting back and helping you if you have a problem. Let me know if that's helpful at all for you. Okay, 13, basically just went over some of the tariff news here. We had a great discussion here with Sammy from T3. Where do you want to go?
Well, we can probably iron out some of these movers before they change, because since I came on here and was listening to y'all and just looking at what's moving around, some of the ones that were in the like the top 3 or top 5 are no longer there. It's a lot of shuffling around. So maybe we could start with those before they change hands again.
Works for me. We're going to flip over to the movers tab here. We're going to get the chart fired up, and we're going to click on the first one here, which is MASS. Okay, so first, right off the bat here, 13, you're exactly right. These things are changing and changing with the quickness, because when I first sat down here, this wasn't even on the list for me. Okay, it wasn't even on the list for me. So here you go. This is ticker MASS. This is 908 Devices. 908 Devices shares are trading higher after the company reported Q4 financial results and beat adjusted EPS and revenue estimates. The stock went from about $2 up to $3.50. Right now, it looks to be straddling its VWAP. I don't know about you, but I'm not familiar with this one at all. I've never traded it. So let's take a quick look around the horn here. 10.4% of the float shorted with 7.65 days to cover. Maybe some squeeze potential in there. That days to cover likely because on average the stock trades 600,000 shares, and today here we are 10.5 million before the market even opens. 22 million shares in the float, and this is a medical device company. So 13, what do you got here on this one, if anything?
Well, this is moving for a couple of reasons. One, it reported earnings. They were better than expected. The guidance was a little bit lower than what estimates were looking at, but they do expect revenue growth in the range of for fiscal year 2025 to be in the range of 11 to 15% year over year. That's one thing. The other thing that was announced just before earnings was that they sold their analytics desktop portfolio for $70 million. So I think that's the real big reason why we're actually seeing this.
There you go.
Because the earnings were okay. The guidance wasn't great, but I think the fact that they're going to be selling an asset that's going to get them $70 million in cash, that's important. That's what they need, because they really only have 2 quarters of cash right now. And that's going to, so we haven't seen that reflected on the balance sheet yet, that sale. So this is going to be in a much better position moving forward once they have that 70 million buffer to go along with their increase in year-over-year revenue.
Okay, so do we feel pretty good that this thing doesn't necessarily need an immediate offering?
I feel
because
pretty
that's
confident
my
about that.
takeaway. Am I crazy or what?
No, I don't think you are. I think that's a fair assessment. I'm not thinking that this is going to need to do an offering, and I don't want to say that it never will, because
Of course.
the strongest companies
Of course.
do that. But I think there's a lot less likely. It's a lot less likely that this company is going to need to raise capital, considering they just got a 70 million payday, or they're going to get a $7 million payday from selling something that they don't want to have anymore.
Okay,
So I think that's fine now. It is trading above VWAP, and it might continue to go sideways. Maybe it does go a little bit higher into the in pre-market before we have the open. But for me, I'm just gonna we have some time, so we're just gonna wait and see what happens close to the open, and see if it is still above its VWAP by the time we have just a matter of minutes before the bell. I just would wait and see, because the $3 area looks like it's going to provide some support if we do lose VWAP. So I'm just I'm not trading it yet. I'm just waiting to see what we get out of the open.
Okay, real good stuff. Quick look here at the 5-minute chart. You can see that this stock, off the impulse move, a pullback, a little consolidation around VWAP, has actually sent it higher. It looks like it's trying to do the same thing here. So maybe we'll watch this. We'll come up with some levels here. I would say that really, if this continues to break any higher than this 355 here, this thing probably does challenge the pre-market high there of 375. Now, I know we're only talking about 20 cents worth of change right there, but again, we'll see how strong this one is as the market opens here. Okay, really quick here, I just want to take a quick pause and address a comment here, because I suspect that if the market continues to pull back, or if momentum names continue to take a hit, we're going to see more of this. And I just want to offer some words of encouragement. Super here, unprovoked, giving us hope all is well with you and have been making some money. I'm back to real work at the moment, more red than green in trading. So I'm back to slaving away at my regular job. Here's a couple of things that I want to say about this, because I've been in this position more than once. So I think I can actually give some insight here. Number one, this is a hard job, and you're not a failure. So do not give up on yourself and keep going. If you notice that things aren't going well, try and identify what made those things not go well, but do not give up on yourself. I cannot stress that enough. Secondly, it is never a bad idea. And I know people that have, I didn't even want to say the number because it's so huge. They have, let's just say, lots of millions of dollars to their net worth and potentially in their trading accounts. And even at that point, they're always looking for other ways to make some money on the side. So don't feel like a failure. Do not feel embarrassed, and do not think that you have to only sit in front of the computer and click buy and sell in order to make some money. There is something to be said for having some type of either real job or side hustle to help you out with the trading. We talk a lot here on this show about being very, very careful about managing your emotions. The entire theme this morning was about not panic selling and all of that. And so adding other income streams to your net revenue portfolio, if you can call it that, never a bad idea, and it can actually really, really help you. And then lastly here, if you do need to take a break, again, you're not a failure. This happens all of the time. And sometimes that break can be exactly what you need to kind of provide some clarity, reset, and then get back into it. As far as the show goes here, this is about the least important thing of this following things that I just said to you. We're still going to be here. We're going to keep the seat warm for you, and we will be more than happy to have you back when you can join. So don't worry about that. Stay at it. Keep reading about it. Even if you're not trading, you can still become more familiar with what's going on out there. We all believe in you and anyone else that goes through struggles. When I first started this, in like my first couple of weeks, I was up like 10 grand. And that was more money than I had seen from any job that I had had at the time. The next 3 months were a very, very humbling process. And some of that actually lasted over a year before I really started to turn things around. So I leave you with this. Keep reading, keep working, do not give up, and continue to believe in yourself. You got this, and we will do whatever we can to try and be there for you. So 13, sorry about that. I did kind of really quickly want to digress here. I do hate seeing this happen to people, and I understand that when the market, especially when the market is going gangbusters, and then all of a sudden it kind of turns, it makes a lot of people question things, myself included. Hang in there. Hang in there.
Absolutely. You will have some struggles. You will have some tough years. You will get through it. Absolutely.
No question. Big B's, appreciate you. We sometimes don't say this too. There's definitely no dishonor in working a 9 to 5. And I will say, I know that, there's a lot of jokes that are made. Oh, 9 to 5, you trade your time for this and that. If you find something that you enjoy, that's really the key. And as Big B's is saying here, no shame at all. No shame at all. So, okay, let's keep moving here with some of the stocks. MASS, by the way, right here at the VWAP. Let's see if it holds it. Now, the next one here, nobody should be surprised to see this one here. It is TRNR, and this has been a recent Momo name for our group. This is obviously moving still on relative volume, as it's had a number of sessions here with some outsized volume. TRNR here, popping to 280 here. Interactive Strength, secures exclusive distribution and initial order for the Climber in the United Kingdom. So you're getting another PR here. A lot of these PRs have been about this Climber system, in Europe. We're getting another one here today. Stock is up by 20%. Again, a reminder here of some of the short interest. 6% of the float shorted with 1 day to cover. You got a float here of 1.5 million. 13, what do you think on this one?
It seemed like that was rehashed news, but it's really discussing orders from the United Kingdom and not Germany. The Germany was the one that we ended up getting news on last week on the 27th. So, I don't think there's a whole lot we need to cover with this one because we've been talking about this one so frequently. Floats of 1.5 million. I don't think I even looked at the cash position in some time, but the point that we're going to want to pay attention here with this one is just the way it trades, because nothing's really changed fundamentally with this company yet. They're getting orders, so that's great. So there's future revenue, but nothing else has really changed. It's just more news about orders, and so.
And to your point, it's not as if they have this cash hoard on the balance sheet,
right? At
least not from the last quarter here. So,
right. So, it's great news, but there's nothing that's really changed from the last time we looked at, their fundamentals. This is going to be another one that's currently trying to get back above VWAP, and that's going to be the thing that I'm watching for here is that recapture and the hold above it. Since we lost a VWAP in the pre-market this morning, multiple attempts to reclaim it to no avail. And I need to see that. I need to see that recapture. Now that we might get that after the open, we might get it before, but until that happens, this is not something that I'm going to be trying to trade until we get that movement. So see that there's a big order at 288. That's been about where these breakouts over VWAP since losing it have topped out at. So once we do get above VWAP, we're going to need to see a recapture of 288 as well, because that's been the main rejection area so far. So that's really all I've got with the TRNR. We already know this company. We've seen how it trades. Now I'm just waiting for those two things that I just mentioned to happen.
And one more thing, just to kind of borrow from some of the things that you've highlighted on a pretty regular basis here, especially on this 5-minute chart. I think it behooves you to pay attention to some of these wicks, because when we start seeing some of these wicks form at the top end of the formation, this stock in particular likes to back off that spot. That might be one of the indicators. We were just talking with Sammy about, hey, you've got a really, really simplistic way of looking at things, but it works. What's the trigger for entry? What's the trigger for exit? And what can you do there? So, what can you identify there? So I would be looking at this. I would say if this thing really starts, especially on the 5, if this really starts wicking, it might show that it's kind of slowing down. We've already seen that once here. Okay. Next, SMST, that's the micro strategy short ETF. I don't really think we should cover these. Instead, we should cover the underlying asset. With Bitcoin moving down, this doesn't surprise me. Yeah, what did you have?
I did go over Wint, and I think it bears with talking about, because I think this might be a little bit dangerous one to trade. And here's why.
Oh, look at the look. I don't know if you saw what it's done already.
Well, did they do an offering? Because it seemed to me like they're about to do an offering. So what's this drop on?
Doesn't look like it yet. Maybe just other people realizing the same thing that you are. So here, I'm just going to read the news and I'm going to turn it over to you because it sounds like you've already broken this down like a fraction.
Okay.
Windtree shares are trading higher after the company announced that the U.S. Patent Office, the USPTO, issued a notice of allowance for its patent titled, I'm not even going to try that. No. So basically one of its patents here, it got a notice of allowance. Thank you, producer, for putting it on the screen so I don't have to embarrass myself trying to read that here. 13, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, so the news is a little weird to me. A notice of allowance is just a step in the patent process, and basically what this is saying is that it's ready for registration. It's really weird to me. It seems like some kind of BSPR news a little bit, but when you start looking at what has been going on with the company, they just went through a 1-for-50 reverse split on the 21st. They now have 748,000 shares to the float. And a company really needs cash. We've seen this before. We've seen this where they do the reverse split, they are in need of cash, and once they've got that compliance out of the way, they need to raise the capital to get the other side of the compliance out of the way. So I feel like this is trying to maintain their compliance on the NASDAQ by doing the reverse split, and they seem to be needing to raise cash. Excuse me. I feel like this PR is a bit of a way to push the stock price up so they can, make that offering. That might not happen, but this is I just don't feel great about this. And I think I just want to mention this one because this is something I think everybody should be very, very careful with. Now, we've already seen this thing completely fall out of bed and go lower. So maybe that risk is over, but I still think that they could do an offering if it turns around and starts trading back up. Be very, very, very careful with WINT. I think this could trap a lot of people if they decide they're going to halt in the middle of the session and do an offering. So just be very, very careful with this one.
13 top marks. I hope you're all right, man. Top marks for that. This thing spiked, tried to print 550, and has completely rolled over. This is down 3 whole points. Yeah. From its peak here. So something's obviously going on here. Traders obviously not buying this piece of news, or at least not continuing to buy it here. Looks like they bought the initial move. Yikes here on Wint. The only thing that I will say is that if you're looking to trade this, maybe this firms up somewhere.
Yeah, it might give you some low RSI trade, but understand the risk here with this particular one. They could just completely destroy your whole game plan with an offering that comes out of nowhere. So be very, very careful with WINT.
4-1 here is asking, should we sell off NVIDIA? 4-1, that is definitely a question for your professional financial advisor and not for us unlicensed folks that cannot give you financial advice. We are going to look at NVIDIA here, and if we see it set up for a potential short or a long trade, we might even trade that. But as far as your specific financial position, I would consult an advisor and see if they can help you with that decision. Okay. So, Lion, you were saying earlier here, you need to keep an eye on the news because Trump is a wild card.
Yeah.
My response to you would be, where the heck have you been for the last decade? Because that is not... And I say that jokingly, of course, because that is not news. But there is something that I'd like to layer on top of this. Number one, if you don't understand what's going on or you feel that this is just too unpredictable, remember, cash is a position. And furthermore, depending on what your feelings are towards the specific person, if you really don't like the specific person and you have a propensity for blaming some of the misfortune on this person, then I would say probably not a good idea to actively trade this market, because what that's going to do is it's going to create this feedback loop, and it's going to make you more and more angry. And now we've introduced more emotion, which we've talked about removing for the past several weeks. So, Lion, this is not new. We should be prepared for this. There are ways to deal with this. The big takeaway, no matter what it is, do not panic sell. That is the theme of the morning. Do not panic, do not overreact, and do not make decisions that you can't take back, right? Try and be as tactical as you can. On the other side of that, 13 has done a great job of outlining some past examples where this type of volatility and shoot from the hip style can actually lead to benefit. All right. Kodak, I think, is your best example, because we're talking about a company that dealt with film, and all of a sudden it gets mentioned and there were multiple trades in there. So this is a sword that can cut both ways. Don't let it cut you. All right. Don't let it cut you. Now, 13, I'm looking at the movers list here. I don't have much more. There were a couple of things that I wanted to comment on here real quick. Walgreens Boots Alliance, ticker WBA. This is one that we've talked about quite a bit. There is something going on here, and as far as I'm aware, or at least earlier this morning, it was not finalized. Ticker WBA, Walgreens Boots Alliance shares are trading higher following a Wall Street Journal report suggesting the company is nearing a go-private deal with Sycamore Partners. So what that's going to mean is that they're likely, I think, I don't know what the price is, but I would imagine that they'd pay a premium here, judging by how the stock responded, and they will inevitably go private. What that means for you is that if you have shares and they announce this, the stock will pop to close to that level, and you'll be given a chance to exit on that. So it looks like Walgreens gains and reports nearing a $10 billion takeover. So at least you have an idea of the range that they're in. It's not the final price here or whatever is not finalized on this. So keep in mind this is going on. The other thing that I really quickly wanted to mention here is going to be on Tesla. 13, if you want to do Tesla levels, I think that's probably a good idea. I'm going to actually come back to Tesla here in a sec, but I wanted to kind of give you an opportunity to go through that if you didn't have it here yet. The news on Tesla, obviously this is moving down with the market as it normally does, but on top of that, we actually did have a price target adjustment here today. Bank of America lowered their price target from $490 to $380, so over $100 worth of a price target cut there. We talk about this all the time. I don't consider this a downgrade because they're keeping the same rating, but they are significantly slashing the price target. That's what's going on with Tesla, down 4.2% here. 13, I'm going to come back to the larger chart and we're going to talk about Tesla, but I got asked a question earlier about ticker ACON, and I believe, and I promised that user or that viewer, excuse me, that we would take a look at that. Now, I believe the question here on ACON was, why did this thing go down? Now, come on, give me there we go. There's the chart. Why is this thing down? Well, first of all, yesterday, looks like they announced a commercial agreement with Scripps Health. We talked about this yesterday. If you take a look at this, it looks like we've basically just had a pretty big impulse move. This stock, let's see, I don't remember what this was. Let's see, this to here. This stock was up over 100% yesterday. So a 17 or 18% pullback today, that actually just kind of seems like normal trading. Maybe this thing really kind of overshot to the upside. Looking at the chart of the rest of the market here, this thing actually seemed to be pretty strong against a market that was pretty pitiful in the afternoon. So wouldn't even be totally shocked if there was some relative strength here that lured some short-term traders in. I say lured, maybe that's the wrong word, but the stock is just down slightly here today. We'll see how it ends up trading here today. The other thing I think you asked is why this stock was down from over $100, and that is pretty easy to explain. If you take a look in Benzinga Pro, we have a history here of some recent, of some reverse splits. One of them here being as recent as January 30th. This stock did a 1 for 370 reverse split. So just to kind of get back to your initial question here about why this stock is down from, I think you said $100. Well, this is a split adjusted price, and this is why it appears like this. The reality is that this stock didn't actually move from 100 to 6. It moved from the split adjusted value to where it is, and that split is correcting or altering the history of the stock or of the price that you see here on the chart. Let me know if this answers your question. We'll have to see how this thing trades here today to see if it gives us any setup.
Yeah, and to answer some another part of the question about why we're seeing such big movement down today. I mean, it was down 17% right now. Remember, this thing had when we talked about it yesterday, we pointed out that this did, like you just said, a 1 for 370 reverse split. So it's changed the share structure, but it's also had a high short interest. So we were seeing some squeezing here. Now the shorts may have come back on. They may put those shorts back on and help push this back down. Also, the float's pretty low, 1 million. So moves are going to be more outsized now that they've reverse split it. And and aside from the Scripps Health deal, this thing had some relative volume, and there was a low RSI play as well. So you had a bunch of things going for it that helped move it to the upside. And I was watching. I didn't trade this in the afternoon. I probably should have, because it did have some pretty good setups, but I was just paying attention to other things, and really nice movement, breakouts on over VWAP multiple times, multiple bullish reversal patterns throughout the day. So this one was pretty good at trading after the lunch hour was over, but I just didn't hit it. Now it's come back in because, well, I say it's come back in. What it really is that it's just down off the highs from yesterday. We are actually not too much lower than where this price was trading throughout a good portion of the day. So there is a chance. I mean, I think it's still going to come back in some more. The low from yesterday was down just under 5. So it wouldn't surprise me if this continued to trade down lower into that into that particular handle, because the news is over now, and everything that helped move it along upwards is that's it's still of course there's some things that are still there, but it's not going to have the fuel to get this going again unless there's some other catalyst.
Okay, really good breakdown there. And by the way, just kind of looking at the daily chart here, I had told you that reverse split that they did was on January 30th. We are $1.30-ish. I don't know if I'm exact here, but we're about $1.30 away from the low of that January 30th day. So I know we were moving lower here. Yesterday's action brought us back above that level, and today's pre-market action here, this minus 18% that we're currently seeing here today, is just kind of a regression off that move. We're still in the same ballpark. So take that for whatever it's worth. Okay. We can do pretty much whatever you folks want. We can do ticker time. I did notice that no. You know what? We promised Tesla. Sorry. I almost screwed that up. For those of you that were looking for Tesla levels, yes, we are going to do this. We thank you, 13, for reminding me and not having me screw this up here. I'm going to start here real quick because I'm just pretty much going to talk about what we or just reiterate what we have been talking about recently. Tesla here, 272. So when you look at where we're at, we're about right in here. We are beneath the 200-day moving average. Folks, big level for me. This gap fill, I think we're probably going to do this. This gap fill fills down here to 251-ish. Top end of that wick there, 255. I think it's somewhere in there is going to fill the gap. The other thing that we have to note here is that we do have a fib level to contend with. Sorry, the drawing makes it a little bit difficult. It is this one right in here. It is the 0.618 level that is at 261.64. So 261, 255, some downside levels here for a gap fill and a fib level. 13, what do you have here on Tesla, ticker TSLA?
So we've just lost the 200-day SMA, and that's if you're bullish, that's not something you want to see. But we haven't had any closes beneath it yet. We've been testing it, bouncing off of it. Now we're beneath it. This could be the first day that we close underneath it. So that'll be one thing to watch for. The other thing is that I drew a line at 273.60 because that was the low from Friday. And we rebounded and recaptured the 200 and then moved up. So that was an important level I was watching for because it was kind of drawing off of the high from October
Mhm.
28th. Now we're trading beneath that and we're in this gap. So do we fill this gap? It's a very high possibility that we do. And that gap fills all the way down to 255 and 28 cents. I think there might be a stop along the way, though, at 265, because when you look at the September 30th high, that's going to be at the 264 and 86 cents. So I'm just going to, just kind of round that off at 265 and make that just a level to watch for on the way down to fill this gap, because I think that you might see some support. Whether or not it holds or reverses, I can't, guarantee that or not. I just think that if we are going to start trading down and try to fill this gap, that 265 area, we're going to see some support, possibly even a reversal before we ultimately do head down and fill that gap. So that would be one level to watch for, 265 on the way down here to fill that gap at 255 and 28 cents.
Okay, I would just kind of tack on to that we got that fib level that's right in that ballpark 13. I would almost just say the area 262 to 265 might be a potential spot there. So okay, really good stuff there. Let me know, folks, if that's what you had with your levels there. Or if that's what you were looking for with your levels there. And then, of course, Tesla, one of the most active stocks that we take a look at here or trade here on a regular basis. I'm sure we'll check in on some of its intraday action here. Yeah.
And one last little bullet point here is the RSI on the daily is very low. So if we do get that move down that tries to fill the gap and we find support at 265, like I'm thinking we could, there could be a pretty good reversal that back tests the 273.60 level that I just talked about, maybe even the 200-day SMA. So having the low RSI is probably going to help it if there is a reversal off a support level to lift it back up more than it normally would if we didn't have a low RSI. So just keep the RSI in mind. If we are starting to look like we're going to reverse, we could reverse a little bit more substantially than normal.
Okay. All right. Really good stuff there. Ed here saying Fib doesn't work. Yeah, Fibonacci doesn't work. It's that crazy stuff. It does. One of the things that we will say here is that these are designed to be a guide. So there are definitely some cases where they don't work, and depending on how you draw your levels, might or will in fact determine what some of those levels are. But nonetheless, we'll take a look at whatever we can try and identify for possible support. So okay, good stuff there on Tesla. I did also notice I definitely want to take a look at NVIDIA. Looks like several people want to take a look at NVIDIA. We'll definitely do that. We got 9 minutes here, but I saw that you and Jay were talking about NVIDIA. Did you kind of want to go over that there? Is there a lesson that the rest of us can learn, or maybe a takeaway or some levels even?
No, he was just giving me some flowers. I mean, it took a while. It took a while, but eventually, Nvidia finally, went lower. Like I've been, thinking it should have. So I guess even a broken clock can be right twice a day. But no, he was just kind of giving me some flowers for the movement down here, and I was just thanking him. So that's really all the conversation was about. As far as where I think Nvidia is still headed. You have that channel right there. I think
let me stop you right there. I was waiting for you to. I'm gonna stop you right there.
All right.
I was waiting for you to mention the channel because you're talking about all of these flowers, and that's awesome. I love that. This to me is exactly why it is all right and probably makes the rest of us better. If we've got one opinion, no, the stock's going to do this versus nope, the stock's going to do this. That's what makes a market. We'll see what happens, and we'll reconvene afterwards and some takeaways for that. So I love how the two of you, I was not involved in it. I love how the two of you handled this. But there is something that I was involved with, and you better have a good size vase here, 13, or a vase, if you call it that, because you're about to get some more flowers. When NVIDIA started to bounce in this candle right here, I don't know if you recall, it might have been on this show, it might have been on the happy hour show, it might have been on both. But you said, hey, Ryan, if NVIDIA bounces, it might stop right at that center channel line that you have drawn on your chart from that channel that you drew. And look at what happened with that effing candle.
I remember saying that,
Yeah. So we're going to give some more flowers here for 13 because we actually drew this channel. This was a community thing that we did in the happy hour. I even copied the yellow color from the gentleman that draws these, which was kind of amusing. But then that sets up the next thing that I wanted to talk about. Where's NVIDIA going? Well, let's just start here with the parallel channel that we have.
Yeah.
Today, this puts it at about 106. If it takes a couple of days, maybe 105. What do you think here for your level?
No, I think 106 sounds about the neighborhood of where this is going to find the support with the channel, and this is going to be assuming there isn't any market shattering news that takes the entire S&P 500 and the entire Nasdaq down even lower. So maybe there's some later on today we get some kind of announcement on the reversal of some of those tariffs because X country decided to play ball or whatever. So there's always a possibility that this could turn around on that kind of piece of news. And with how low the RSI is, it would seem like it's just gearing up for a strong rebound on something like that, where there's an announcement of that turns the market around. I'm not sure that we'll get something like that today, especially with the investigations that are happening right now in Singapore, and apparently I think Malaysia is also going to be undergoing some investigations with how these intermediaries are distributing NVIDIA chips to China buyers. So it's going to likely be news driven, but I think that 106 area is a great place to start for a downside target. And if we do end up losing this channel, then we're probably going to be talking about somewhere closer to 100, maybe 101.50 before we get into before we go underneath the 3-digit figure. So that's what I'd be looking for, is let's just not get ahead of ourselves, and let's just keep an eye on 106.
Spot on. I'm with you on that. Lion also throwing 102. That 102 level that Lion is mentioning comes directly from the closing candle on Friday, September 6th. I would agree with that as well. That would be if we snap the bottom of that channel, as you said. Okay. Really good stuff there. Last thing connected to NVIDIA. Jay, you brought up another really good point that I wanted to get to. Here you go. Some of these AI names that revolve around NVIDIA are cut in half now, or are cut in half. Excuse me, comma. Now the energy names are rolling over hard, like CLS, ALAB, AMBA, GEV, CEG. See that CEG we've checked a lot. I know Big B's, you've traded that a lot. TLN, VST, etc. So Jay, what I love about this here, we actually just got a question, I think last week, about sympathy plays based on what's going on. What I love about this, what is the next shoe to drop? Or in other words, what are you looking for this move to continue? Do you think there's some more downside here? Do you think that there are some other energy names that have maybe not rolled over so hard that might still have some meat on the bone? Let me know what this means for you for the next trade, because this is definitely what's happening here. We've outlined that a number of times. So really good stuff there. Okay. Let's see. Did I miss anything here? Yeah, go ahead.
I could give one more level that's to the upside. So we yesterday we were talking about, and I don't know if this was on here on the show or if I was just talking in chat, but I think it may have been chat. On Monday, February 3rd, that was the first day, the first trading day of the month in February. That was basically the start of the rally that we had that took us back up to the 140s. Gave all that back by the end of the day yesterday. So that level that I was watching for was going to be 113, because that was the low from that Monday, February 3rd, and we ended up closing just above that, even though we traded beneath it. So 113 is going to be an important level for an upside rally. If we start to trade up, that's going to be the level I think we need to see a break over in order to continue going up. And beyond that, 117, which was another level I had been mentioning previously, that's going to be another upside level. So 113 and 117, should the stock turn around, or should even the market turn around and help lift the stock back up? Those are going to be some interesting resistance levels that I think everybody should be paying attention to. It's 113 and 117.
Okay. Great stuff.
Yep.
Great stuff there, 13. We are less than 2 minutes from the open right here. First Solar, I saw, was a stock that was getting requested there. We can absolutely take a look at that. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything here. RL, you had looked for JPM. We can do that as well. I think that's it. BTAI, I'm sure we'll take a look at there. Crow, some of those movers, we'll be looking at that pretty regularly. Let's take a look here at First Solar. We'll do it real quick. First Solar down another 2% here. Looks like we are continuing to hunt for a bottom. Boy, we did just break this support from November of 2023. I would say that the next level of support that I see here on the chart going to be around this 115-ish area. Let's call that 115 to maybe 116. And if we really start to break down and break 100, which might also bounce that, we've actually got a pretty significant gap down here on this chart.
I think you might see support kick in at about 123 before that 115. And I'm not saying that 115 isn't a support level. It's just earlier. And because I see what you're talking about. It's about 16, somewhere between 116 and 115. That's from the lows of October of 22. I see that. My point is that there's a high from November. I don't have a lot of time. Okay,
I got it right here.
I have 40 seconds. There's a high from November of in the beginning of November of 2021 that I think we're going to see as support before that 115 level. And when you look at the RSI being down to just under 26, it seems like that earlier support level could kick in and help reverse the stock price before that 115. So I don't want to completely. I don't want to say that your level that you mentioned isn't valid. It completely is. I just think that 123 has a greater chance of kicking in as support before that one. We might not see the 115 support happen until much later.
Okay, there you go. We identified that on the chart. I think you're spot on. Mel, we are open. Let's do it. Stella, do me a favor. Please stop yelling at everybody. Just tone it down. It looks to be kind of a rough day. Let's not be yelling at everybody all day long.
All right, looks like Mass is trying to break over the 355 consolidation there, or not consolidation. There's this wall there of sellers trying to chew through it, but not able to get above it quite yet. So back to VWAP it goes. WINT kind of going sideways. Now that it's low RSI, this might have a push up back to where it was trading before it had the impulse move, but just keep in mind what you're trading here with WINT. Very, very dangerous this one could be.
Love the Yoda impression there. By the way, a mass that started to go up here. FRGT. Is this
Freight Technologies?
Yeah, no, it's not halted. Sorry, I just had a little. I was like, I didn't think that was halted. Didn't see it there. That's my first move on the SPY was down. We're testing the pre-market low here on the SPY. Johnson & Johnson up by a percentage. So there you go. Pharmaceutical company. This is also considered a consumer staple, isn't it? Johnson & Johnson. Anyway, this up here by 1% this morning.
Looks like NVIDIA is coming up to that 113 level.
Screen.
Oh, thanks, Wisdom. All right, so
I love the positivity. Wisdom shows up here, probably strolls off the beach in Hawaii, wherever he's at. Probably got sand in his sandals and just breathes positivity out here. Love this. Freight Technologies, ticker FRGT. Freight Tech launches AI tendering bot to automate load tendering, enhances the service as a subscription model, and reduces costs. We got an AI headline, FRGT.
TSM popped up to
near popping, by the way. Wow.
Yeah,
okay, sorry.
Near its pre-market high of 177.50. Coming off of that level now, it also helped lift NVIDIA up. So let's. I'm gonna just wait and see what this ends up doing, because I don't want to be like, oh yeah, here we go, we're getting bullish again, and have this thing trap a whole bunch of folks. So just gonna be patient with this one, see what it does. Yeah,
patience has been my move recently. And I don't see that changing, at least from today. SPY continuing to pull here, so it is looking for a bottom here. SPY now 578 handle as we take out 579. Did break that pre-market low. We continue to trade down here on the SPY. And by the way, a little bit of a mea culpa here. I had joked around that yesterday we were probably going to see a markets in turmoil graphic on CNBC, and we haven't yet. So I know I kind of joked about the gloom and doom. We didn't see it. I was wrong about that. Wisdom saying, Ryan, it's the weed. Okay. Well, it is what it is there. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else really good moving around here? CAPRs still beneath its VWAP. Someone brought up Hoth earlier. This was rejected at its VWAP. Back to penny territory here on Hoth. Seeing a lot more puts in NVIDIA come across the tape here. That should be really no surprise, I guess. NVIDIA is still trying to bounce, trying to recapture yesterday's intraday low.
I think mass might try to go here. It keeps getting pushed down, but the buyers keep stepping in and take out some of these walls. Just be careful with this one. It's trying, but hasn't really been able to get above 355. So just waiting.
You know, the one thing I will say is that if the market is really kind of shaky and traders and investors are just not feeling great about stuff, you could really just, this formation that we have going on here in the pre-market, this could really just kind of break. I would say once again, at least here this morning, I would say don't try and be a hero today. If you're going to try and time a reversal, at least come up with your downside protection first before you start thinking about some of your profit targets.
Yep. Is the float still 179K for Wint? No, it should be 748,000. Now it's starting to come back up because we were mentioning how it's low RSI, so we could end up seeing it come back up to where it closed yesterday, which is just under 3. That wouldn't be surprising, but I just got to reiterate, because keep in mind the news along with the reverse split and all that other stuff that we talk about how this could do an offering out of at any moment to raise the cash they need. So just be careful with WINT if you're trading that one.
NASDAQ here, that initial move down is getting bought. So it looks like we did kind of gap down here. We sold off out of the open. So far, this is getting bought. Here's what I will say. I'm not of the conviction yet here, but NVIDIA's flirting with a potential a potential red to green here. I actually think if you're nimble here today and you're thinking about day trades, if you get a NVIDIA red to green flip here, maybe this could be a short-term trade, either calls or stock for some more gain here. Keep in mind, this is what's happening on NVIDIA. We're down just about $1 here, just under $1. 13, I'm actually going to step away for 1 sec. I'll be right back, buddy.
No problem. NVIDIA, big volume candle that took it through 113. Now it's trading on the top side of it. Don't know if we're going to see this hold or not. You got to look to the left and see, and you'll notice that we've had a lot of consolidation ever since the pre-market opened. That has rejected all the advances above 113 so far this morning. I'm seeing three different times where we've tried to break above 113 and could not hold. This one being the third, we are holding now. So let's see if this one can end up getting, holding above 113 and going higher to the other levels we were talking about. And see, you're mentioning Jonathan's mentioning RDGT IPO halt down. And we're also getting some movement out of mass. This thing finally broke over that 355, looking for 374, which is the pre-market high. They keep bringing in large asks, the sellers do, trying to push this thing back down. But this is apparently relentless. It's still trying to push up. If we break above 374, this may have legs. Let me see if I can find some different levels here. Oh, what do you know? The 200 EMA on the daily is right at 370. So there is a level that we definitely need to take out. And if we do, looks like 405 might be the next level I'd be considering. Let me just mark that off. This is MASS, by the way, that we're talking about. So 405 got marked off there. Where else does this thing go if we print higher? Looks like we could, I want to say 435, but I tend to like 455 better. So I'll just mark off 455. We're still in MASS. This thing is starting to move up now.
Okay.
Just identifying some upside targets. So go ahead.
All good. I'm coming back from my absence, my temporary absence there, and I see that NVIDIA has gone from red to green here. So what I would like to see next to really kind of confirm this trade, maybe a little bit of a back test, almost a hold above green here. And then I think maybe we could go, I would say, just taking a look at some of the options here. Let me see what I can come up with. If you're doing shorter term trades here, honestly, the 115 call with a $4 bid, $4 ask now, the 115 call that expires this Friday might be a decent way to kind of trade this here. If you think NVIDIA's got some more upside, if you think that this is just kind of window dressing, you probably want to wait this one out here. NVIDIA week in the pre-market, nice move out of the open here. One of the things that I'm going to be waiting for is, do we see this in other names, and does it really start kind of building towards a potential move back higher here, despite some of the negative sentiment early on?
Well, I'm waiting for 117 at this point because
Okay.
we got the volume that was needed in order to get through that 113, and it held above it. So the next level that, so I was mentioning it earlier, 117. That's one to watch. You can even look in the regular session yesterday. Once that 117 level was lost, there were 2 attempts to recapture it that failed and brought it down to the 113 level. So going to be an important level in my opinion at 117.
Okay. 117. Now, let me take a look here at mass, because I actually wasn't even thinking I was going to trade any of these smaller names here today, just because they're kind of dangerous. But if we get a good enough setup, maybe I could be convinced. NVIDIA, NVIDIA flirting with red green here. I'll keep my eye on that. Mass here looks like that move higher. We came right back into VWAPs, and we actually broke VWAP.
Yeah, broke VWAP, went above the pre-market high, and came right back in. So still kind of holding in the consolidation channel that we put in the pre-market. What we don't want to see is this start to go underneath 320, because that might indicate that this trade's over for the time being. So that's what we don't want to see. We want to see this recapture VWAP. I have my VWAP at 346. Call it 347 since it's fractionally almost there.
I've got it at 345. So it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. So yeah, we're just kind of going sideways right now. Don't want to see this start losing some of those pre-market lows.
I'm taking a look at some other big cap charts here. In fact, let me just kind of click through some of them because I see that options are being traded on them. The banks notably weak here today. Goldman Sachs also very weak. Someone had asked about JP Morgan here. They're down 3% almost here today. So while some of these other names have started to flash bounces, most notably some of those tech names kind of going along with the cues here, banks still super weak. We take a look here real quick at Apple. That pop got sold here. Let's take a look back at NVIDIA. This thing's still around that green to red area. It looks like this is going to be a place your bets moment here on NVIDIA. Bosnaldo mentioning TSMC. That's, of course, ticker TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor. That also, this is actually the strongest of the names that we were just mentioning. One of the movers there, FRGT, we continue to go here. This actually took another leg higher after that initial impulse move. Not in this one. Don't trust this one. CAPR actually got a pretty good volume reading here. This one above its VWAP. This one might not be terrible here. Catalyst Capricorn Therapeutic shares are trading higher after the FDA accepted and granted priority review of the company's biologics license application for dermiosal to treat Duchenne muscular dystrophy. I got to just stop trying with some of these stupid names, honestly. CAPR, this actually looks like one of the better trade setups here above VWAP. Next target higher here, 1634 to 1645. That's 1630 to 1650 area.
SPY is just really having a hard time getting back up some of these.
Don't get trapped.
Yeah, be careful. Yeah, certainly got a bull trap yesterday, or it was trapping. It was probably starting to trap people on Friday, and then it just shed it all out.
Yeah, the Friday move was notable. The chop yesterday right out of the open. Just kind of chopping back and forth, and then eventually rolled over there.
TRNR, one that we've been, trading, I think since last week, kind of sideways out of the gate, sideways and lower. Looking at it's getting support from its 65 EMA, but continues to hammer it. I'm not sure how much longer that's going to hold up. What else we got going on here? Yeah, so TSM, that just ticked 180 and 72 cents. Let me look at a larger time frame here. So, hold on a second.
TSM, you're looking at here. I'll put that on screen here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at some levels on a larger time frame here. So, For me, the thing to watch for with TSM is going to be that 200-day SMA, which is at 183 and 53 cents. That's going to it has to recapture that. I don't think there's any other thing that's more important right now, because we've already had 3 closes beneath it, and if we can't recapture it today, then I think this is probably going to end up going lower.
Okay.
All right.
I'll tell you what, that might have been a little bit of a fake out there early on. Seeing a lot of red here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of red. And that bounce wasn't a big enough bounce to maybe feel good about kind of reshort, at least not in my opinion, to maybe reshort for some more downside here. SPY now continuing to track lower here, 577 and change.
FunDev is saying Wheeler Halt. I think that's that wacky real estate company, right?
Yep. WHLR.
Yeah, that thing is wild.
Wheeler Real Estate Investment Trust. I feel like we've covered this one a lot we've talked about this one, maybe not covered, but we've talked about this one quite a bit here.
Yeah, I think that's one you also have to be careful with, because it's had some pretty wild price action. Excuse me. RL is mentioning Microsoft. Jonathan Cooper is saying Hollow back above $1, and Izzy saying Google strong.
Google definitely showing some more strength here than some of these other names.
I still like. I could see Google getting better support down around 161, 162. Maybe let's just say 162. If it goes under 162, then it's probably just going to be some pennies. But low RSI on Google wouldn't surprise me if this had a pretty solid reversal if it does go down to 162. But
Hollow is going here. Wiss, I know that you were mentioning this one here. I wouldn't touch this one with someone else's money, but this is moving here. Hollow's moving here.
TSM might get. Let's just see what it does, because it's kind of got a little bit of a setup here, but I don't want to say that this is a for sure setup. Let's just see what it does around 176, 177, just to be safe.
See where we're at here with SPY.
You like my adjectives when I describe certain stocks? Well, I don't want to use the same words because it's boring.
Yeah. I mean, and you also have like really extreme creative juices, so it's nice to let those things pump here. Okay.
Oh man.
So SPY continuing to move lower here. We'll see if it really kind of gives up this 578. Looks like it's still deciding what it wants to do here. You were mentioning TSM. I want to take a quick check at the Qs here. Qs down to their 200-day. So it looks like we've tested that 200-day. And what does that mean for the all-time high? Where are we at here on the Qs? So Qs are down almost 10%. That all-time high was the same here as on December 16th, was it not? Where did my... Wait a sec. Lost my numbers in the upper left corner there. There we go. Thank you. December 16th. Sorry, am I running you over? Did you need to say something?
Well, TSM is turning around big time.
Okay.
Turned around, recaptured VWAP. Anyway.
Sorry, man. I'm just trying to get this out of here. I'm fighting my platform. Top here is going to be 539.15. Top here, 540.81. So this was the all-time high. 40.88. Yeah. So we are down just about 9%, almost at a 10% pullback here on the Qs. Qs down to its 200-day moving average. Okay. I'm sorry that took me so long, 13. Let me go back to TSM for you.
Didn't quite get down to that 176 to 177. It was like 177.30, but not too far away from where I was looking at some support. This turned around, recaptured VWAP. Let's see if this gets back up to 180. If it does, we could start looking at taking out the high that we put in about 10 minutes ago of 180 and 72 cents. it's really coming up here. So what the formation we have here, that if we do go higher than 180 and 72 cents, is going to be a more of a broadening formation at the top of a impulse move. That's called a megaphone pattern, and these are bullish. So we could see this continue to move up if we end up getting a new high printed here pretty soon.
Bitcoin up near the highs, by the way, that rocketed highs here, 85,000 on the futures chart.
Oh, Wisdom, I know you're messing around.
Brandon saying mass died. Yeah, that's one of the way I wanted to stay away from that. Let me see.
Yeah, it did it lost the level that I was mentioning. So that 320 I was saying, that's what it lost. Now, doesn't mean it can't recapture it, but for now, this is not something that I'd be wanting to trade.
305 was the pre-market low. That's going to be your next support level down here.
Yep, I agree with that.
April mentioning that Nvidia is green here. Okay, so we're still trying to figure out here. Like I said, this would be one of the bellwethers to kind of watch here for today. And if this market can hold in here and show any type of footing and reversal, I think Nvidia is probably the top target to trade to the upside here. Can you guys look at CYCU, this junky penny stock? Here you go. Had a nice little move earlier in the pre-market up towards 90. We're trying to reclaim the VWAP here. The volume sticks in the regular session actually look pretty decent. I'm not familiar with this company. The last thing that I want to do here today is try to trade a penny stock. I would rather hope that this market kind of turns around and maybe go after some of these technology names. That would be my ideal setup.
Well, it looks like CYCU is trying to go higher. You got a MACD crossing to the upside pretty soon. It is holding above VWAP. I would just watch and see or make sure that if you're going to be trading this, that you're not at any risk of losing VWAP. Seems like it's going to be a strong support area, but I don't know. I don't know enough about this. I know we've traded this before, but I don't know enough about it to be confident that we're going to continue to hold that VWAP. If we do, we're looking for a break over 80 cents and to take out the 8 cent high. So that would be what I'd be looking for here, is just to hold break out over 80 to take us up over, let's say, 90 cents.
Okay. Izzy is, I can't even believe this, but Izzy's asking you where the entry price is here on Amazon. Amazon doing its damnedest to hold the Jeff Bezos former resistance level of 200. Remember, this is where we saw all that insider selling where Bezos was suppressing the price under it. Mm-hmm. Now that is turned into a support level, and the stock here is flirting with it. Amazon really not showing any signs of strength yet here today, down 2.5%. We'll see if it can hold 200 here.
Here's some other things that this has going for it. It is getting support from the 200-day SMA, and the RSI is under 27. Seems to me like the 200-day SMA is a pretty good spot for a bounce. That's at least what I would expect. But got to consider the market conditions right now, and the issue of tariffs and consumer weakness. It kind of makes me wonder if the 200-day SMA is even going to hold up with everything that's pressuring it lower. But for the purpose of a trade, it would seem to me like your 200-day SMA is probably your best, or even $200 is your best shot for a short-term bounce. I personally, for a stock like Amazon, with how expensive it is, this is something that I would want to, probably buy on the way down or buy into the weakness. And just wait for the turnaround. I don't know that the selling's done, but I will reiterate that the 200-day SMA looks like a really good spot for a short-term entry. I just don't know if it's going to hold up in the long run.
Okay.
Wisdom, why don't you have hands, buddy? What happened? Let's mess with you. All right, so looks like, I'm just taking a look at Wintry, the WINT. So it looked like it was starting to curl up, and then guess what? It just knifed and it went lower. 209 is now the low.
Did it really do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It tried to bounce, and it was like, no.
Yeah. So, I mean, just be careful.
God.
Again, I'll just say it, just be careful with WINT, especially with the risk of them needing to raise capital. I don't know exactly how they plan to do that, but usually when these kind of stocks and they start reverse splitting and trying to maintain their compliance to be listed on the exchanges, they raise capital and they do reverse splits, and that pretty much does the trick. So they're just going through the motion right now, and I expect them they're going to be raising capital pretty soon.
Jay bringing up a really good point here. Okta and GitLab both holding decent on earnings. Their software names could bode well for some others. So the interesting note there is that one of the things that we had identified recently is that it was the software names, in particular the software names that were tied to AI, that were doing better than the hardware names. Now we're seeing some continuation with that here with Okta. Okta actually going above yesterday's after hours high post those earnings. Here's GitLab, not quite doing the same thing in terms of not going above the after hours high, but nonetheless, this thing was really getting sunk in the pre-market. We're right back to green here, red to green move here on GitLab, plus 3.5%. Jay, are there any other software names that you really like? What do you think about Snowflake? You think that might end up getting some of this love here? Snowflake trying to do a GitLab here and get back to green, but obviously playing catch up, down 1.5% here.
What are the Qs about to do here? Are we about to lose a key level in the Qs?
Qs are right back down to the intraday low, it looks like here. Been kind of watching that chart here. Yeah. So we bounced off the open here, but now we're rolling back over in intraday. I beg your pardon. The pre-market lows that we set down here about 492.5.
We bounced off the 200-day SMA is what we did.
Yeah, we did. We tested that earlier. Yep. I showed that on the daily.
Yeah. So, same thing with Amazon. That could be, a pretty good reversal spot. I just don't know if it's going to continue to hold up. Now, if we do get a bounce here and it starts trading back up, I think 500 might be the big resistance area in the Qs.
TGTX, this also holding up after some pretty positive earnings from yesterday. This and that was yesterday, was that not? Indeed. Yesterday morning, this reported earnings had a nice day yesterday, holding that pop up another 4.42% here today. Key level here, TGTX, to take a look at this yesterday's intraday high. I've got that at about 36.5. We tried to go over that once here today, but couldn't hold above it. See if we have some more strength to do that. Booz Allen Hamilton. How about this? Does anyone trade this one? Ticker BAH. This thing, just look at this move here. These got, from what I don't trade this one myself. From what I understand from people that are smarter than me, including those that have lived in DC and are connected to people that actually have interactions with this company here. This very, very DC political here. This getting absolutely destroyed on the daily. I don't know what the next trade is here. I think I know it's up 3% here today, but our last discussion kind of led us to, boy, there might be some more heads to roll here. This might be kind of tough going for ticker BAH.
That's USAID, the stock.
Okay, there you go. So there's more downside.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. That's USAID, the stock. I'm not going to get into how exactly that works, but Booz Allen is very much tied to spending government money. So let's just leave it at that.
Right here, mass, right? So we had that nasty pull off the VWAP. It's right back on. Really, the question here is going to be, can it get above VWAP? Might trade better now that it's pulled here and shook out some of those weak hands. I'd be careful here. I'd actually, given what we just saw in this last rejection of the VWAP, I'd want this to get above and confirm some footing above.
Yes. The VWAP, that's now a resistance spot. It's right where all this pre-market consolidation was happening. So you're right. It's going to take a good amount of volume in order to get through the VWAP and back up over 355. So watch for volume expansion if you're interested in trying to trade this one. If we get that, then there's a much better chance of this pushing back up over VWAP and going higher. It's going to be volume dependent at this point.
SPY still hunting. NASDAQ doesn't seem like it's breaking down as bad as some of the other indices here. The Dow, too, also looking tough here. This still hunting for a new low.
Also, Robert mentioned Boyle when he came on. And this thing, This thing has had a really nice recovery, and it's kind of rounded off here. We also have a golden cross on the daily. This, I mean,
Ooh.
I would guess that this has a date with 120. I don't want to say that's for sure, but just the trajectory that it's on, the resistance areas that I see looking to the left, 120 seems like that's where it could be headed.
One thing to remind you here about Boyle, just keep in mind that this is an extremely risky asset.
Yes.
This is a levered asset that follows natural gas, which is notoriously volatile as it is. The nickname for some of these assets are called widow makers. So just be careful with this. If you can time it, it can be great for you. If you mistime it, it can be really bad for you. Just be, if you're going to trade it, be careful. Have a plan.
Look a little bit more to the left on that one.
Oh, sorry.
Go back to the daily. Look a little more. There. Okay, you just had it a second ago.
Yeah. What am I looking for, dude?
You're looking for the December 11th low. That's pretty much, you know, and it was a support area that turned into resistance. So we got it was support in December 11th, 2023, and then it was resistance when it tried to recapture that area back in May of 24. So that 120 area, that in particular is very yes, exactly. That's what I'm looking at as for an upside target if we continue with this upward trajectory.
Sebastian is asking the question that's on everyone's mind here. What are we thinking, folks? Is this the big one everyone's waiting for, or might we come back up? You know, producer, maybe this is a good poll question. Maybe we should test the waters here and say, I'm not ready to say that we're going to see new highs, but I'm not necessarily ready to say that we're just gonna plummet here. Maybe that as soon as I said that, SPY next leg down. Here we go. Maybe we are.
Just waiting for you to say it, man.
I mean, look, the market is going to do whatever it can to make me look like a complete moron. Whatever it can. Big plunge here in the SPY. NASDAQ also rolled over, lost where it was holding. Next leg down on deck.
Meanwhile, Mass is making a massive move over VWAP. God, I really do have some fun ways of bringing tickers to your attention.
Yeah, no, it is fun here. The one thing that if you're trading this, I would actually have a super tight stop right beneath that VWAP. I'm talking like 339. Just make sure that if this thing knifes, that you're going to be able to get out of it. Here we go, though. Nice push higher here. Next target, we've got 370 and then 380.
Yep. Got to get through this 360 wall here, or else it'll be doing a 180. Get what I just said there? Anyway.
I did get it. By the way, real quickly here, with all of this selling and all of this worry out there, VIX here, 25.30. That can get much more elevated if things really pick up. There were people, when we were talking about some of the unusual option buys, we were talking about, I think, 45 on VIX. Some of those levels that had just extreme open interest in there. The April... Yeah, it's the April 40 and the 42.5 calls. So almost a double from where we're at here.
All right, if we get this current 5-minute candle to close over VWAP, I think that's going to be a good sign for those trading this one.
For Mass?
For Mass, yeah.
Okay.
You know, there was a really great move back through VWAP, but this has to hold if we're going to see any more upside. And this might be a pretty good one today if we get the movement that I think we might get. Still stay away from Windtree. This one, and I'll be honest, Windtree could try and turn around here. I just don't know how much relief you're going to get from this one. The MACD is starting to look like it might try to curl back up. No crossing yet, but just it is still beneath VWAP. I'm just trying to point out with Wint, this could absolutely go the wrong direction that you're expecting, but it is probably a nice setup. And I just want to say that if you are trading this and trying to trade off the lows here, just be very, very careful and make sure you set your stops.
Elkner is saying, I'm up 470% on my account and could not have done it without you.
All right.
I don't know if I'm pushing my luck. Well, first of all, I'm going to give you, dude, you're the one pressing the buttons. So I'm glad that you find the environment that you're in helpful. But at the end of the day, boss, this is you on the ones and twos. Good job there. Also, I don't know if I'm pushing my luck. So if you're worried about that, and you've made some pretty substantial gains, don't necessarily be in a hurry to give those back, right? Maybe reducing some of your position size and seeing if you can continue that might be the next step here. Chris Neal in the chat here saying the relative strength of McDonald's versus the SPY this morning is impressive. Indeed, it is. McDonald's here up 2%, actually looking like it's trying to trade higher here as well against the market that looks like it is completely falling apart.
Just a guess here on why we're seeing this activity in McDonald's, and it could be we're getting some defensive plays that are being rotated into. I can understand that, but with regard to the egg situation, there are restaurants like Waffle House and Denny's that are adding surcharges to their plates that have eggs in them. Now, McDonald's has already said they are not going to raise prices because of eggs. That could be the reason why we're seeing this movement up.
That's a really good point. And you know what, 13, it's not egg related, but we actually had the CEO of Chipotle on yesterday saying that they were not going to pass on tariff price increases to the consumer. Now, he did kind of leave himself an out. He said, right now things can change in the future. but seems going that route here, and now you bring up this really good point here about McDonald's. Just I'm guessing just the sheer scale here allows them to be a little bit. They can be a little bit more flexible with some of that pricing or passing some of those increased costs onto the consumer. I mean, look, McDonald's has already gotten more expensive. Why are you choosing McDonald's if it's not the cheap way to go? McDonald's doesn't sell eggs.
They cook them and then they sell.
McDonald's doesn't use real eggs.
Okay.
Do they really? I mean, do they actually not? I don't know. I'm not a McDonald's eater. I'm sorry. I wish I knew more about that.
It's eggs, but they're processed likely.
I mean, I still think they're affected by. I think the point you're trying to get here is that they should not be affected by egg prices. I'm pretty sure that they are still.
They're affected
those are completely synthetic eggs. I don't think that's the case.
They're affected by egg prices. They're just not passing it on to the consumer. So the idea is that because they're one of those that are not going to raise prices on the consumer, you might see more traffic into their restaurants because they're consumers tighten. And I don't know that that's what's happening for a fact. I'm just thinking that that's because of they're going the opposite direction. That literally the largest egg consuming business in the nation, which is Waffle House, is adding a surcharge, and they're not. That's the only thing I'm pointing out. These space names there are looking mighty attractive.
Yeah, you guys, they're. Okay, there seems to be a debate. Maybe we did the wrong poll question here. Maybe we should have done a McDonald's eggs fake or real question there. Nonetheless, okay. Per producer here, McDonald's eggs made with USDA grade A eggs that are cracked into an egg ring.
Yeah, you guys, I'm not suggesting you guys go out and eat McDonald's. I'm just
neither am I. Chris, look at what you stirred up here.
I know.
All I tried to do was put it on screen here. Thank you, producer, for looking it up for us.
I don't eat at McDonald's, so
neither do I. Like I said, it's a non-issue.
Can I offer at least that olive branch to y'all in the chat?
But nonetheless, doesn't stop the fact McDonald's strong against a really, really weak market here. And boy, oh boy, I don't know if we've seen a breath rating this poor in a long time. SPY, Dow, Qs, Russell, Nice, all 3-1 or higher to the downside. Our chat is awesome. Our chat is awesome. I did not have McDonald's eggs discussion on the bingo card today, but here we are. Another reason why it's just a surprise every day. It's like Christmas morning every day in terms of the surprise factor. Okay, VIX continuing to trade up. Apple coming back up. Let's see here if we've got anything. Bitcoin back down to 83K on the futures.
All right.
Nvidia rolling back over.
this is just going to be a massive wealth creation event. It really is. I'm looking forward to all this. Everything is fake. Yeah. What are we even trading this? This is not real money.
No. So there's two things that's making me laugh right here. There's a lot of talk about these eggs, McDonald's eggs in the chat, and I can't help think, man, you know what I would kill for right now is a Cadbury cream egg, but I didn't even want to add. I didn't want to add to the ongoing debate we have here.
Do you think the Easter Bunny lays eggs now?
I'm not even going to touch that one. Chris's comment also makes me chuckle. Sorry, y'all. I really don't know for sure, but their eggs sure taste real. I'm just happy with this morning's move. Chris, I'm with you on that. If you're long McDonald's, that's a nice move higher. And I'll tell you something else. Jay Harris, we were trying to trade this with calls before. Boy, we were just a little bit too early, weren't we? We had a nice little dip that kind of shook us out of that trade. Then we did go up to it. And in fact, I still have those lines on here. And we'll see if we can break out from this 317. That was part of the initial plan for that trade to resolve higher. We were just a little too early. Turns out that's the way the cookie crumbles. Let's take a look at the market overview here and see what the heat map looks like. Maybe I shouldn't even do this here today.
Gary doing it right. Buy your own chickens, lay your own eggs. There you go.
Here we go. Terlingua 55. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. As a retired manager of McDonald's, their eggs are real. 100% grade A eggs from real chickens. Well, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that one right there. By the way, here's your heat map. And it's a lot of red out there. Healthcare, again, we talked about healthcare yesterday being one of those sectors that really performed well. Consumer staples was on there as well. Looks like those two doing pretty well here today. Energy was actually on that list earlier. Energy pretty much all red across the board. Utilities, consumer staples, healthcare are your pockets of strength here today.
Where else are you going to go on YouTube and find an entire, show and chat just having a great time in a market that's getting absolutely hammered like this? Well, I'm just saying. I'm having a great time. Spies getting clobbered.
Let me. I'll just to be clear here. I'm getting smoked today. Now I'm not making new trades here, so I'm not compounding my problem, which is really allowing me to control my emotions here. I'm looking at my account positions here today, and I'm red. I am healthily red. Okay. But again, going back to the theme that we had started off here from the beginning, number one, what I'm not doing is going to panic. I'm not going to panic sell. There's none of my holdings here that are getting hit here today. That, as far as I'm aware, the thesis hasn't changed on any of them. So it's just kind of a rough day. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take slow breaths in, slow breaths out, and we're going to live to fight another day.
I think it's the kind of day where you put together a shopping list.
I think that's smart.
For longer term positions. Yes, right on, Anthony. We're talking no new trades, but hey, let's talk eggs. I love it, man.
I mean, look, whatever it takes. Some people watch movies. We got a guy in the pro chat that is like a Netflix aficionado and likes to indulge in Netflix. When it doesn't matter what it is, just don't do something today where you would look back in a few weeks and be like, what the hell was I doing? What on earth was I doing? Know what you own, be comfortable with what you own, have a plan, and don't overreact. If you don't feel good in this market, if you don't think that there's something here for you to kind of grab a piece of, don't worry about it. Market's going to be open tomorrow.
Yeah. I did like your somebody had a comment earlier about Dollar General doing pretty well today, and that's I think that's a really good play on the weakening consumer. You have companies like Costco and Walmart that are still also pretty good plays, even the TJ Maxx, Ross stores, all the cheap outlets. I feel go ahead.
I was going to say Dollar General, Dollar Tree here getting smoked, but Dollar General is actually holding higher. One of those pockets of strength here today. Costco barely lower.
Yeah, Dollar General, got hammered because they were spending all kinds of money opening new stores all over the nation, but that's actually positioned them very well for the weakening consumer, because everybody that's shopping at all these higher price stores are now going to be going to Dollar General for a lot of their goods, especially more of the rural areas and areas that don't see a lot of income.
Exactly, 13. Exactly.
Man.
Trailing Paw is not going to miss an opportunity.
Oh gosh, you're just
by the way,
taking the dad jokes from me.
GitLab, which we talked about earlier, some of those software names with a little bit more strength. Jay talked to you about that earlier here. That is continued here in GitLab, ticker GTLB.
TRN are trying to come back up to that pre-market consolidation. This might, if this recaptures VWAP, this may have a chance at going higher. I don't want to say anything that's guaranteed, because in this market, there's nothing that's a guarantee right now.
Here is TRNR stopping right there at the VWAP. Real quickly here. Where did I lost the comment? I'm like blind. Ooh, where did it go? I had a comment here, then I just lost it. Sorry about that. I'll try and find it again. ASTS flying here, says Crow.
It's the only space stock that's actually doing well today. Everything else is down. But I think that we're going to have some really good opportunities in these space names. Some of these have come down to better valuations. Some still need to come down a little bit more. I really want to get Rocket Lab and Redwire for longer term positions, but I still feel like they may be a bit extended. But those are two that I really want to own. As far as space stocks go, they seem to have the best growth going forward, especially Rocket Lab.
Real quickly here. Hello, Lynn Adams. There we go. You were just talking about space stocks there. Hello, Lynn Adams here saying loading up on Lunar for the 3/6 launch, 320 earnings. There are your two catalysts. You're looking for Lunar to trade higher after those two binary events. Looks like Lynn here likes your thesis there on space stocks having some more room. And here's the comment that I couldn't find. Ryan, what a great name, by the way, little king. Go off. This is a discount day at the store. And I'll tell you something, as far when it comes to trading, this is the only business that I'm aware of that I can think of where the things that you buy when they're on sale, everyone's panicked. Or I shouldn't say panic, because that's the theme of what we're trying to do. Everyone's worried. Everyone feels normally I go into a store, Costco, Best Buy, whatever it is, and I see sale signs everywhere. I'm like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. But in the market, for some reason, things go on sale and it's, oh my God, the world is going to end.
Hold on, Adams. The lunar the day of March 6th, that's when they're supposed to arrive at the moon. They already launched. That was on the 27th of February. They have another launch coming up later this year in October. But of course, the earnings is definitely one to watch. But we want to see. I'm not saying that your date is wrong, but it's not a launch. It's actually a landing. It's the opposite of what they're doing. That's when they're supposed to arrive at the moon and set down. And if you're interested in what's going on with Intuitive Machines, you should really take a look at this lander that they've got going on there. They have all different kinds of little rovers and instruments on there that are going to be doing all kinds of different wonderful things on the moon. It is absolutely fantastic, and I'm excited to see if what happens with all that. But first things first, we have to land on that moon without tipping over this time.
More lows here across the board. SPY, NASDAQ, Dow, we are coming in. By the way, mass there, we actually just tried to while 13 was talking, we just tried to tease a move back to the VWAP and through, and another rejection here on mass. I'm not sure this one's going to work here, or at least not yet.
Well, so far it's putting in a bit of a trend line with these highs it's making in the regular session. So that's going to be, now at some point that VWAP may come, it may get to that where that trend line is, and they'll probably coexist. That could be an interesting spot for a potential breakout, but this is all going to be on the volume. So that's the big thing I'd be watching for with mass, is just what the volume does. If it starts expanding and growing, and it helps lift the price up, that's a good sign. But ever since it had that last pop over the VWAP and came back in, the volume just kind of dried up. So really need to watch the volume on that one.
Here we go. Love this. Anil saying Rocket Lab. You guys were talking about the space theme here, and Anil's looking for the 21.5 call there on Rocket Lab. Lion here saying it might be a discount day here at the store for the market, but I'm actually waiting for Black Friday there. I like that, Lion. That's pretty good. There was another comment that I saw. Yeah, here it is. Wackadoodle. This will give you an idea here. I'm waiting for the SPY to get to 520 before I start buying. So, folks, we're talking about a sell-off here. We've talked about things that are oversold. Where's the bottom? Stuff is hunting for a low. Well, Wackadoodle here is telling you they're waiting for way lower than this. 520 puts us down here. And in fact,
sorry,
you're good.
No, I was just going to say the SQQQ is just breaking out right now, and the Qs are just broke down from their not VWAP, but 200-day SMA.
The 520 area represents a 15% pullback there in the SPY. Let me throw the Qs up here, 13, so we can have a visual aid for what you were just talking about. Here's your breakdown. More lows here.
Yeah. Let's see. There's something else here. Give me 1 second. I was going to look and see because you had mentioned the SPY 15% level. And I have level.
Should I mark that? Yeah, I think maybe I should mark that off on that. You know what? Let's do that.
Well, you can, but I think that we're going to want to look for the 10% correction level first. That's going to.
Well, I've already got that marked.
Okay.
I guess that's what I'm saying here. So, what do you have? Do you have a value handy for that 15% pullback level?
No. Let me.
Okay. No problem. No problem. I'm just wondering if you had it handy.
Let's see here. Oops. Yeah, but the SQQQ just absolutely on a tear right now.
Oh, look at that 15% pullback. That we just talked about. That's that 520 level. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to add that here real quick.
Yeah, so 521 and 25 cents for the 15% pullback.
I'm sorry, I had a ridiculous sneeze right there. What did you say? 520 what?
521 and 25 cents.
$521.25.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and label that as well as the 15% pullback level. Okay. And let me just adjust this for my own mental state. And then we'll save this here. Bang. Okay. All right. So again, just to reiterate here today, getting smoked, but doing my absolute damnedest to not make it worse. I had seen there was a comment earlier about you can pretty much short anything with 100%. I've been very, very careful about throwing around 100% things and stuff that's guaranteed to work. Shorting is not easy, especially if you're not used to it. And also, don't forget, when we get bearish tapes, bull bounces in bearish tapes can often be horrific. They look extremely bullish. They often represent traps. So just be careful. If you have a plan for trading some of those, that's one thing. But again, focus on some of your downside area protection. Focus on capital preservation more than gains here today. Tough day out there today.
Oh yes. I don't even know if I want to mention some of these that I see that have set up. I mean, there's one here never mind. Don't worry about it. It's not going to provide a trade. I'm just looking to see what is setting up here. I see that your CYCU that you guys were talking about earlier did end up getting back up into the 80 cent area. Also looks like this is setting up to try and push over the 88 cent high that we got in pre-market. So you guys may end up getting your wish here if this continues to hold above VWAP. And mass still hasn't broken down. There's that trend line that we identified. So as long as this thing doesn't lose that level that I think you pointed out, like that 305 level earlier, as long as it doesn't lose that, there's still a chance for this to move over VWAP and even break that trend line. But I think the longer it kind of goes sideways, the more you're potentially gambling.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess you can trade this maybe against the lows. We'll see what happens as this gets closer to that trend line. Maybe that VWAP. Again, not in a rush here. Not in a rush here to trade. And the other thing is it's still the morning, right? So this might maybe even slow down, accelerate, or even turn around here at midday. What the 10:30 turnaround? That's normally what we're looking for, or the time frame that we normally pay attention to, 7 minutes away.
Yep. Yes, sir. I mean, I haven't had a bad morning. Played some of these short positions. The short ETFs like the SQQQ. That was pretty good.
So I was trading those last week. I was actually so was Matt Maley, and I was actually using some of his trades as a guideline there. Haven't started doing that here this week, hoping frankly that we can bounce one time and then kind of roll over again. That would be the hope.
Pro mentioning RDGT. Let's see here. Ridge Tech. This is Ridge. It's Ridge Tech, but not like Ridge Tech Robotics, right?
RDGT.
Yeah.
Right through the VWAP on volume.
This is rounding. This is rounding up. Looks like 547 could end up being. It could end up breaking over this, just based on the way this looks right now. That this volume continues, I think we're getting a break over 547. Just need to make sure this volume continues, and it has to hold above VWAP.
And so far it's doing that here. We'll see if it yanks, but it's holding in there.
Well, I'm getting some rain outside right now.
It's supposed to rain all day here. Doesn't look like it started yet, though. Okay, still looking around. Okta, this was one of your software winners. This is actually still doing pretty well. Relative performance there.
All right. Wow. With TSM, that just got absolutely obliterated.
Entire move sold back down. VIX VIX is right at 26. I'd still like to see some more.
Crazy move in SPY, almost down to the 200-day SMA. That's going to be at 571.07.
You think we get there today?
Oh, certainly possible at this point. I would say sure. I mean, if you were to ask me yesterday, I'd be like, I don't know, maybe. But today it's a lot more like, oh, I could certainly see it happening. No guarantee that it will, but I could see that happening. I mean, just look at the move we had this morning. Now, what's going to turn this market around? Well, if the tariffs get lifted, so that'll be one thing to watch for.
Well, chat here mentioning it looks like Trudeau is going to be on CNBC in a few. I would imagine that would be to talk tough, not to turn them around.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't necessarily hope for that, but let's give him a chance and see what he has to say.
Daniel,
tick chart pretty muted here, really in both directions. So it looks like this is just kind of like a wait and see, kind of a leak down here. And the VIX is kind of confirming that we're elevated, but it's really not going crazy.
Daniel, I missed your call in RDGT, but well done on your trade, man. Getting asked about RCAT. So, like a lot of these other, speculative names that we had at the end of the year, space, the quantum, the drones, and nuclear, all of them are coming back in. And, they had a huge run, so they need to. The thing about RCAT, and you look at the daily chart, that's a really clear head and shoulders. And
I was going to say, I was waiting for you to comment. We have it drawn on here, and we have it resolving.
Yeah, so it's getting close to the end of resolution. That full resolution may end up taking it beneath the 200-day SMA, which we're coming up to, or down to, I should say. That's going to be at 476. So by the time it actually gets down there, it could even be at 475. Not a bad spot for a bounce, particularly with the RSI being as low as it is. I just don't want to make this, this idea that there's a guarantee that it's going to bounce from here because the technicals are showing that it's got a really good chance to. These tariffs could continue to hammer the entire market, especially if this trade spout continues to push equities lower. So I think there may be a bounce happening, but I don't know if it's going to hold up. Is kind of what I'm getting at. So if you're looking to go long on RCAT or any of these other names that are absolutely getting hammered after their runs from last year, just understand that there could be some more downside ahead. But I think we're starting to come to the end of a lot of this selling.
Okay. RCAT here, also one thing to keep in mind here, this, before it really had its crazy run up here, this thing pretty much was like sideways. This from August 2024. So it was pretty sideways from what, like 2.5 up to 4. So we're pretty much almost back to that range here. This head and shoulder, I'd be curious to know what you commented on it, that 476 200-day moving average. I'm really curious to see if that's the conclusion of the resolution of this head and shoulders and maybe set up for a potential bounce, especially given the low RSI. That's an interesting level. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah. And I could see this continuing to go even beneath the 200-day SMA before it tries to recapture it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it could even go under 4.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep these things in mind. But I feel like a lot of the big selling has pretty much ended, and it's just going to be a little bit of selling from here that could still take it lower. But a lot of the large positions I think are already gone out of this.
Okay, so here we go. So let's talk. I generally try to stay away from hypotheticals here, just because. I mean, let's face it. I can't predict some of these macro events, especially some of the the people that are behind them. But I want to talk about this here real quick, because this is something that we've discussed here on Happy Hour. Izzy here is screaming at the top of his lungs in all caps that rate cuts are coming, guys. Now, a couple of things about this, because we've kicked this around on Happy Hour quite a bit. The Fed is going to decide whether or not we're going to cut, hold, or hike, and the president wants lower interest rates. And so the Fed has told us, well, we're going to be data dependent. We're not going to make in fact, they've even asked Powell about Trump, and he's like, I'm not going to comment on that. I'm going to stick to my mandate, stick to the data. And so the administration says, oh, okay, we're going to stick to the data. I'm going to give you some data. And now here we go. Market coming in, unemployment numbers going up. Just some food for thought. Big B's here mentioning that the chance of a rate cut has gone up to 50%, I think, for May. I would say that I got to think that there's going to be a pause. I think June is probably the earliest that you're going to see. What do you think on that, 13?
Yeah, I've been saying it since we got the last rate cut at the end of last year. I don't think that they're going to do any more rate decisions until at the earliest, maybe June or July. That's just the way, because that would at least give them a 6-month pause at the very least, which is I think what we were going to end up getting, because the next decision, I believe, is whether or not is going to be to continue cut rates, which is looking a lot. I'm sorry, to raise rates, which is to me looking a little less likely now, or cut rates. And I don't think that they're going to make that decision in an emergency type of sense, because I don't think that that's what we're seeing here. We're not in COVID or the great financial crisis. We don't have anything going on like that yet. But I just think that they're going to take the more cautious approach. They want to see more data, but they'll likely see that the data is going to lead them to rate cuts. I think maybe you see the first rate cut probably September, and I might change my position on that. But for now, I would think September seems to be the most likely meeting that they do any rate changes in. Okay. And as far as unemployment goes, we're going to get jobs data on Friday. So that's going to be one big piece. Yeah, one big piece of information they look at coming this Friday. Mass trying to get above VWAP and probably trying to break over that trend line too.
Trying to reach critical mass?
Trying to reach critical mass. If we could see a massive move up to 4 if it does.
We'll see. We got to break that trend line as well.
Yes, has to do that as well.
Still seeing some NVIDIA calls getting bought. So NVIDIA didn't break down past the pre-market low. Izzy, your Disney, seeing some Disney call. Well, why aren't you? There we go. Seeing some Disney calls getting bought until this pull down beneath 110. Where were we on the daily on that one? Okay, so we basically went right off that trend line there. I don't see really anything terribly intriguing in the options market here, at least not for unusual trades. Been kind of keeping my eye on it, but nothing here that I necessarily want to follow into. Apple holding on to green by 0.5%. While we were talking here, the SPY and the Qs, well, really the whole market here has bounced off those lows. Not even back to VWAP though yet. So I don't want to make too big of a assumption here. Let's see what happens if it gets to VWAP. I think maybe if we cross that and hold above that, maybe we can bounce, but I think it might be too early to say at the moment.
Apple is trying to recapture its 50-day SMA. Depending on how this closes here, I think that's going to tell you whether or not Apple's going higher or lower. If we don't recapture and hold above this 50-day SMA, that's going to be just yet another rejection of trying to get above and hold it, because it wasn't successful yesterday. Actually lost yesterday after closing above it on Friday. Tried to recapture it on Thursday, but before the Friday move. So the 50-day SMA is a pretty important level to me. Trying to for more upside in the stock. If we can't continue recapture it, I think we are going to end up losing. Let's say I think we may end up losing the 235 level.
Let's check in on Google, which had some relative strength earlier. Google also holding green here along with Apple. I saw a couple of you, I hadn't even checked on this myself, but a couple of you looked like you were trading SMCI. That actually a pretty strong chart here. Not only is that green by 3.5%, it actually looks like it might try and trade higher here. Graal and Tem, Jay Rice is mentioning. Haven't looked at those high flyers here recently. Wow, Graal cut in half almost from that huge run up. Here's TEM. Also right back to, my goodness. What's the so for those of you that are into like the whole AI play, what's the value or what's the level here on TEM? Because honestly, like this is not even a terrible level. This actually looks kind of appealing. Consolidation area from last year. Support from early this year. Where's the buy spot in TEM for those of you into AI? Maybe it's down in this 36 handle, this other consolidation area from earlier this year. You let me know.
Oh, let's see. I would hope that it if it gets down to 42, that holds, because then we have a gap fill if it doesn't. This is if it closes around this price here, this would be the second day beneath the 50-day SMA. Let me see here. There's one other thing I'm seeing. I think the point of no return, if this is going to, and what I mean by that is if we break this level I'm about to tell you, that the point of no return means this is going to probably make new lows. I would think that that's going to be somewhere around 35. If we lose 35, we could end up going much lower. And I'm drawing that conclusion. If you want to, like on your chart, Ryan, draw a trend line from the low of June in 2024 to the low of January from this year, and just keep that trend line going. And I think that's the trend line that has to hold up. Otherwise, we could end up seeing much lower prints.
This is about it, right?
Yeah, I think so. Back out. There you go. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Sure.
So that's what we don't want to see. We don't want to see that level, be lost. I think that would apply more downside ahead if we end up losing that.
Okay, Captain Cloudy here saying TEM 41 for a scalp. We'll keep that level on deck there as well. You guys are mentioning BTOG. Is that another ripper here that was going yesterday? Let me take a look.
Bit Origin.
This is just a penny stock. That's why I wasn't following it. CDZI, this is a water play, took out its VWAP. GUR back on deck.
What was that? I'm sorry, what was that water play? Because water is interesting to me right now.
CDZI, Charlie Delta Zulu India. This is on our water watch list, by the way. We've talked about this one before.
Okay. Yeah, because with the announcement of TSM, talking about investing another 100 billion into chip manufacturing, I believe that's supposed to be in Arizona because that's where they currently have it. Those types of manufacturing plants are very thirsty. They require a lot of water.
Indeed.
So it's really looking like with how much we're looking to expand chip manufacturing in the U.S., water resources and water management are going to be a huge theme going forward. I just don't know when that's going to start kicking up. There are some plays I'm looking at, but I just don't want to start throwing things out there unless I'm a little bit more certain about if there's anything there. But this is interesting to me. So CADIS Water CDZI, definitely something I'm going to be taking a little bit more of a look at. And it looks like they are based in California. So if you know your geography, that's a neighbor to Arizona.
And a state not unfamiliar with water issues.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
yeah.
Water in the West, Western United States is a very, very big issue right now.
Hershey outperforming today, plus 2.5%. The shoe company here, this went higher after earnings here. It's almost given everything back. Still holding green here by about 3%.
C-Spot, FSI, I know this company.
Sorry. Really quickly here. Mass is above the trend line that we identified, and it back tested it.
Cool.
So if you're going to trade this one here, the trade is actually pretty clear. A break of that trend line in VWAP, and I think this thing goes way lower here. But trying to break out. Let's see right here, 350.
And look at the MACD. That's starting to curl up as well. We might have something going here. Just be careful. Make sure you got your protection in place. But with regard to FSI, this is an interesting one because they have several different products here, and it's they use some of their products for swimming pools so that the water in the pools don't evaporate as quickly. But they also have these other biodegradable polymers that prevent water evaporation in aqueducts and reservoirs and things like that. So very, very interesting company using different types of chemicals to prevent water evaporation, and it's safe. I'm sure RFK is going to have something to say about this, but this is something that I think bears with watching. This is with regard to the need for water with upcoming chip manufacturing. This could be one of those plays to pay attention to. It's a very good mention, C-Spot. Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Real quickly here, Mass, by the way, this 341 area looks to be important. This is pretty much back testing this trend line. In my broker, I've got this at VWAP, and just kind of looking at the buys and sells here on the tape, there's definitely a battle going around here, 340 to 343. This stock is trying to get going here.
Mm-hmm.
Jay here, it's a big problem, Ryan, for golf here. No new courses can be built, thus daily fees have gone way up. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. A mass coming back in. This is going to, that 341 is going to be a test here. Mass, this is a big Kathy stock.
Oh, is it?
According to Jay Rice here.
Okay.
Jay's information is pretty good. By the way, that 341 held on that back test. They literally printed at that spot and it held. And now we're bouncing here. I still think the levels that we gave here for a potential trade and the stop levels there are going to work. Here we go. Starting to juice a little bit. See if we can get above 360. That's going to be your next spot here. 360 on Mass. On Mass. Get it? And yeah, sorry.
We're not the only one with the dad jokes today.
Well, see, here's the thing. I actually didn't realize that I had said it until it was already done. that's to be quite honest. Here we go. Mass ticking back up 360. Watch for this to break, maybe.
I haven't taken a look at Bitcoin lately. That hitting a low of 81,444 before reversing and turning back up. But running into trouble with the 83,000 handle. Now trading around 82,675.
Come on, Mass. Let's see if we can get this 360.
Looks like Went's still trying to turn around, but still beneath VWAP. Mass is the one that looks good.
And there's some size right there at 358. They printed it. They didn't take it. They're holding it up here. I'd raise your stops if you were in this one.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Come on, 360. Come on, give us 360. Give it to us. We called this. There's the 358 again. They're taking that spot. I think there's 360. Bang. Let's go. We found one. All right.
Now we're looking for a break of that intraday high of 370.
Look at just that. As soon as it took out 360, it started gearing. Oh, well, that was such a great hold. Thank you, 13, for having me put that trend line on there. Thank you,
pretty well,
13, for making me some money. Thank you, dude.
No problem.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I think you're right,
what a battle today has been. What a battle.
Yeah, it certainly has. But yeah, I think you're right, Robert, with the Bitcoin going into the 70s. I think we were talking about 75,000 being a pretty strong looking level. Let's pull this back up and see what that looks like to me. Make sure I'm saying the right stuff. That was a really good rejection of that support or that resistance area that was previously support when the price was making double tops. As soon as we lost that at the end, toward the end of last month, back testing that was just looking like it was going to get rejected, but didn't know for sure until we got the confirmation. Now we are headed down lower, and it seems to me like I do like the 75,000, but I think the better level is going to be around 73,850. I kind of like that level better.
Mass coming back in off that impulse move there. Steve caught Mass. Let's go, Steve. Fairchild says drinks out of it. Fairchild, there are no adult beverages until the weekend. That is one of the mottos that I have been living by for a while. And I'll tell you something. It has affected more tendrils of my life than I had imagined from the outset. So I generally stick to wine, some whiskey in there now and then, but I've really cut that down. And I'll tell you something, man, I got benefits all over my life from that. Shout out to any of you. I know there are a lot of folks that talk about, cutting back, sobriety, all of that. A big shout out to all of you that are able to do that. Crow and Lion are calling for a rally. I don't know if I don't know if I'm ready to call for a rally. I'm happy with that mass trade call, but a rally. I'll tell you what, I'm not even going to poo-poo it. What's the catalyst there?
We did get, let's see, the Tesla did get down to 261.84. So that was, a little bit beneath the I think I was saying the 264 level I was looking for, 264, 265. Reversing though, now back above 265. So it didn't quite fill that gap that we were outlining there yet. That gap, like I said, actually fills at 255.28. So see if we get some reversal here. I mean, like a lot of these Mag 7s are just they have really low RSI. So it wouldn't be surprising to see some of these rebound. Mass doesn't look like it's finished.
And real quick here, Izzy, thank you for answering. Market oversold is your catalyst for the rally. Mass is pumping here again. Actually did a really good job holding 350. How about that? Tom says Canada's pulling all American alcohol off of its shelves. Okay. You could rip to those that got to stick with Canadian Club. That's all I can say.
Yeah. These tit for tat spats are going to be resolved so fast.
I tend to agree.
Somebody will capitulate. Somebody will finally be like, okay, let's just knock all this off, and then everything will just kind of go back to normal. But and then the market will rally off the news of that.
And then if you back out and you take the longer picture, what changed? Bunch of emotions in there sliding back and forth is the answer.
Year of the snake.
Year, I love it. Oh, 13. I should have just answered like that. I should have just said that. Year of the snake. We are getting examples for that all of the time.
Looks like Mass having a hard time with 375. Not breaking down, but still having a hard time getting above it.
Fairchild says, I drink like once a year because I already drank all the alcohol over the decades. Yeah, I had some pretty good experiences in college, and that might have done it. By the way, Mass here coming up towards those highs. We're gonna look at that pop. All right, I piked it.
New highs, 405. Next level I've got.
Bang, bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang. NASDAQ officially in correction territory. Good. It's about time. I feel like it was early on that one, too. Too early, frankly. Probably left money on the table because of it.
Let's see, 396 now the high. Holy cow. Well, TRNR, not looking great. Putting in new lows. Tesla seems like it's trying to, certainly trying to reverse. Got a whole day ahead of us, so what we're seeing now could not, could be completely different by the end of the day. Jay Rice.
Some of these. What happened?
He's just going to rent Super Troopers too, in honor of Canada-U.S. tariff.
Oh, nice. Nice. Oh, Super Troopers. That the snozberries taste like snozberries.
The first one was definitely better than the second one.
Yeah, no question. I'm not even sure I saw Super Troopers 2. Maybe I'm off the hook there.
Their best one, I don't know if anybody agrees, but their best one was Beer Fest.
Oh my God, Beer! That's right. That was the same guys.
That was just The Broken Lizard Clan does a lot of they have hits and misses, but the Beer Fest one was hands down their best one.
Give me a sec here before we welcome on Anne-Marie. I'll be right back. 13.
Sounds good. Red green duct tape solves everything. It seems like we just got a little bit of duct tape on the market, don't we? Rocket Lab is sitting a bit above the 200-day estimate. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm watching with a lot of these is that there's just about at those the 200 moving averages. A lot of these names, and I do really like Rocket Lab. Once they have their Neutron rocket up and running, that's going to be a fairly big competitor to Tesla, even though it doesn't have the same carrying capacity. Still, able to take much larger loads than their current rocket. I can't remember the name of it, but it's going to be a game changer for Rocket Lab. They could see a lot of their revenues increase off of that with that new rocket. Absolutely, very, very exciting company to me. And we still haven't had the Starship launch yet because that was supposed to go off yesterday and that got delayed. Don't exactly remember seeing what the reason was. I think it just had to do with visibility or the weather, but might get another one here this week. Oh, you know what, Fairchild? I wasn't aware of that. I never saw that, I think.
Okay. All right. Let me see if there's anything else moving around here that we haven't talked about. The one thing that is standing out to me on Mass, so we had some of this sideways action earlier, but really since this trend line break, we haven't seen these big pullbacks. Now, I'm not gonna try to double dip on this, but I will say I think that there could be some risk on here until it really kind of flushes out some of those weak hands. Make sure that you have protection though in case it runs against you. So far, this has made a couple of moves up since that trend line break. Here we go. Here's the poll. Let's see where this poll goes. Let's see if this breaks all the way down right here out of this formation. I've got the bottom of this formation here, 374.
Yeah, I think, I'm not trying to predict what's going to happen in the next matter of seconds here, but still looking at that 405 level as the next, level to break. Almost hit it with, we came within 9 cents of it, but still going to need to see some more volume to get us up to 405. Don't exactly know what we're going to get for the rest of this market for as far as mass goes today. The big move I was waiting for, that happened. So, I'm pretty much good for the rest of the day, not trading this one. Maybe it provides some setups later on in the afternoon once traders come back from, talking about all the great puts they did this morning, having lunch and all that. So there could be some moves here later on this today with mass and some of the other ones that are moving back up right now. But given the environment that we're in, I think I'm just going to take it a little bit more cautiously today.
I think that's not a bad plan there. I was as patient as can be. And actually, things not nearly as dire as they looked early on. Go figure. Go figure.
I was getting asked about PayPal.
That's a good one.
Yeah, and then I think that could probably be, about where I take my leave so that we can always let the wonderful Anne-Marie come on. We have PayPal breaking down beneath its 500-day SMA today. RSI just super low at 21.6. This, I think, is what we're going to be seeing a lot of in the buy now, pay later stocks. So this is one of them. Sezzle is another one. Bread Holdings is another one. If the consumer is weakening and the job losses are accelerating, then the thought here is that there's going to be harder times paying the back the buy now pay later, even credit cards too. If we look at what the consumer household debt is like, it continues to go up every time they come out with that report. So I feel like there's a real awful debt situation, not just with our government, with our consumer. That's really going to start to come to a head as far as problems go. Where this ends up finding support, that might not happen until about $64, which is not too far away. So I think that's with PayPal. That's where you might see the support start to kick in, especially with how low the RSI is. I just don't know where it's going to reverse and go back up to. I think that the 64 support area might be just a brief stop before heading lower. I'm not really confident that these buy now, pay later stocks are going to do too well if the consumer is really weakening as much as is expected to be.
Okay, real quickly here. Is this the beginning of a correction into bear market territory was the question that we have. Thank you, folks, for voting in our poll. 53% of you, 53% said yes, down we go. So you believe this is the beginning of a bear market territory move down. 26% of you said not sure, sitting on the sidelines, and no, I think it will hold up, 20%.
If we're going into a bear market, I mean, we haven't even hit 10% yet. You got to understand how much lower that is.
Yep.
I think that's under 500. I'm probably doing terrible math in my head, but I don't know about a bear market. If we go down there, we're going to have some pretty big opportunities, because I think that the market's going to, come back pretty strong. But we'll wait and see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. A bear market, we'll talk about those levels tomorrow. For now, let's just focus on the 10% level, which I currently have. What would I say it was? I think I have the wrong figure here, since we continue to get more new all-time highs. I think it was it 5? What did I say earlier? Do you remember?
I don't. I'm sorry. Here on the SPY levels.
Yeah, hold on a second.
I marked one off, so maybe that was. Were you talking about 521.25?
Yeah, 521.25.
Sorry. This is why I marked it off on the chart, because I knew that we would come back, and I knew that I wouldn't remember.
Yeah, let me update mine, because I've got an old level here.
I updated. I'll be happy to give it to you there. Okay.
Oh, I got it.
Okay. And then Crow here, talking about the Zelensky stuff here. So a couple of pieces of news that were kind of going there. First, the non-market news: Kyrie Irving tore his ACL and is done. The market, what?
I'm sorry. That 521.25. That's 15%, not 10.
That's what I said. That's what I said. That's what I have it labeled as. So sorry if I misspoke.
No,
but what Crow was mentioning here, it looks like a 19. Let me see if I can find the actual tweet and I'll link it to you guys. Looks like, yeah, here it is. Looks like a 20-minute old tweet here. Zelensky saying basically saying what he should have said last week, to be quite honest with you, saying that he's looking to end the war here. Now, Crow, I know that you're saying that this is a done deal here. Let me throw that in the chat there. The reality here is let's wait till that's actually finalized. That's good to see. We'll see what the next step is and then how the market inevitably reacts to that. But there's the news that Crow is referring to. There's your tweet.
Yeah, sorry about getting those numbers mixed up. That was the 15% level that I gave you. The actual 10% correction level is going to be 551.91. That's what I'm looking for next.
551.91, and I've got that marked off on the chart as well. Okay. Let's see where we're at. We are, all right, 13. We are about to go to Anne-Marie. Let me see. Anne-Marie is waiting. Okay.
Excellent. Well, I guess that's time for you to wrap it up.
One more thing here. As don't forget the whole thing, the Zelensky tweet, what's not included in that tweet there, his entire opposition is calling for him to resign. So maybe we're forcing a movement here, but okay. And thank you, Anne-Marie, for that. Okay, 13, give us a sign off here and I'll go ahead and get Anne-Marie on here.
All right. Well, hey, another wonderful day trading with everybody. And I know it was to the downside, but we were kind of ready for that. Traded some things that were bouncing. Had a great trade in mass. Hope everybody else had a good time trading that if you were in it. And if not, I hope you had a good time trading what you were trading. Folks, enjoy your time with Anne-Marie. She's going to give you some great option trades. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll trade some more stuff. Have a good day.
Okay. 13, really good stuff here today. As always, just an awesome addition here to what we're doing here in the morning. Really can't thank you enough. And folks, I kind of want to reiterate what he was saying there. We did have a nice little scalp there. At least I know some of you guys were really hitting it. I had one nice little scalp there, put some green on the screen, and my portfolio's down here. But again, big theme of the day here today, do not panic. Do not get involved in panic selling. Now, let's go ahead and bring on Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, how are you doing here today?
I am doing great. I have a funny story to start things off with. So I have a touch of pneumonia and acute bronchitis, and they put me on these really heavy steroids. Last night I'm sitting at the table with my husband, and he goes, "You have roid rage, right?"
I'll tell you what. You know what? You just told us how strong your marriage is, because for him to say that and for your response to be a laughter, giddy up. You guys did it right. Well, first of all, I hope that you're okay, and I cannot thank you enough for fighting through it to join us here this morning.
Listen, these kinds of markets I absolutely love. They're absolutely fantastic. They're a lot of fun, and I can't wait to be here with you today because although it feels kind of yucky, we do have a little bit of an organized sell-off.
Yep.
There are a lot of things that are holding pretty well, and one of them is the XLRE. And so what we do understand is that big markets and portfolio managers never go to cash. They always go to another part of the market. So there's that flight to safety. Thank you so much, 13. I wish I had your Wolverine. I wish I had your Wolverine healing. But in the meantime, I'll hang out with Roid Rage for another 5 days. Literally, I laughed until I could hardly breathe. It was so funny.
I'm glad you're laughing because it made me laugh too, and I felt bad if I was the only one over here laughing.
Oh my God,
but
hilarious. So, this flight to safety, we can look at things that are holding, and even though they might be dipping a little bit today, they're still at some super key levels. So, first of all, we have to think about how we want to interact with the markets when they speed up like this to the downside, and then all of our levered plays start looking very risky, right? We look at Nvidia, we look at Palantir, we look at all these things that have been tremendous high flyers, and the latecomers to the party simply cannot take the pain and they drop out. So the learning event is we have to realize that the sun is brightest before it starts setting, and the night is darkest before it turns lighter. And so what we have to
I
do is
love
sort
that.
of temper the way that we move around in the market. And so some of the flights to safety that a lot of folks are looking at are things like real estate. We noticed that financials are selling off a little bit. I would suspect there are a fair bit of hedge funds that have to make margin calls under these kinds of environments because they have been in very levered plays. And so we're seeing some strength fade, but let's take a look at the XLRE. It's well above the 50. It's holding above the 200. It's about to make another cross of the weekly 250. It's got a little bit of a lower high, but it's a pretty safe space for us to hang out into the next little cycle. So the question is, what is this next little cycle? I suspect we have a fair bit of volatility into March OPEX.
Okay.
And so if we stare down XLRE and we say, okay, I've got the weekly hold, how can I stare this down and trade it and say, I might have myself a nice little pop if the markets all of a sudden hold a base and then turn into the next bounce before we have another selling event over the next 3 weeks. And so you could go straight out and say, you know what? I'm going to buy that 44 call. It's 55 cents right now, and it feels a little nerve-wracking to go long in a space where the market feels like it's selling off, but the chart has been very solid, and it is sitting on a weekly formation of holding old support and recapturing that support with a series of higher lows. So this tells me in the next week or so, if we have a reflexive bounce, this could be a very nice doubling of price action with simply the long call. If you think I'm crazy and you say to yourself, hey, there's no way we're going to have ourselves a really steep sell-off and it's going to keep coming, you can look anywhere from 41 to 39 and do two things for yourself. You can set an alert, which I like, and you can say, hey, listen, when it comes into that area, I am going to pick it up, because I will say this concerted move down is going to bring interest rates in. Absolutely, 100%. They're already talking about an interest rate move in the May in the May meeting, and that's just around the bend.
Yep.
So
And we actually talked. So I actually floated that earlier here today. Some people laughed at me, others didn't. And then we also got mentioned there that the CBOE watch tool that predicts the chance of that cut was changed dramatically here today. So to
yes,
your point, there's actually data that reflects exactly what you're talking about.
exactly. And so if that happens, real estate is going to continue to move up. I would say probably not a great idea to buy a put unless you've got XLRE in your portfolio already. And you can see there are a lot of traders sitting at the 42 level. But for me, that would be a zone where I would say, if it comes into 42, dips a little, and then recovers, it clearly is something that looks like it's going to be a buying opportunity to me.
Okay.
All right. So next thing, interestingly, oops, wrong. App Lovin'.
Oh, this
This one,
is.
what?
Go ahead. I was going to say, I'm glad that you're choosing to go to this one because we were on air live when the short report dropped, and that was all of the catalysts that we needed for a trade. There were a number of folks here that were grabbing leaps in app, and they're up hundreds of percent, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So these short report trades have actually given us some really good movement. I'm glad that you're doing this. I can't wait to see how you set up a trade here.
So as we sit around and wait for price action to hold, waiting.
Or for data to load. It's wild. I even did my best there. I even did my best there to try and buy some time.
Yeah. So,
Let me see if it's an app thing.
ooh,
Is that
yeah,
ticker
yeah.
related? No, mine loaded right away. Oh, but you're trying to load the chart.
Well, let me see. Let's go to the daily and see if the daily opens up because there's less. This is pulling in very nicely. Huge weekly level of support. I mean, huge weekly level of support. So there is quite a bit going on in here. And I am surprised by the strength, but it clearly is showing. All right, this is preposterous. All right,
Maybe try a different tab and then back to this one.
okay, let me go to Hershey because anytime we feel badly, we want to go to chocolate. All right, let's
Doesn't sound
see if
bad
I
to
can
me.
go back. Oh, darn it. What is happening? All right. Let's try it again. Got Hershey up 2 and almost 2.75% today. You can see the traders. Oh my word. I am about to lose it. Look at these financials, right? They gotta, I mean, you gotta make margin. They gotta make margin calls. That's what's going on here. For heaven's sakes, maybe you can do it.
There we go.
Yeah, it took me to the area on the charts, but it's not giving me, the chart is not loading, bizarrely. Yeah, well, crudsicles. Okay, so we're looking at Hershey. We know that the price action in Hershey continues to hold to the upside. It is most definitively flight to safety, and that is where they are going. Now, I think Hershey's chocolate is absolutely terrible, but it is a great space to look at price action continue to hold as the market turns into the messy patch that it is. Now, we are already, take a look at this. The price action's already at 183, right? Our call is at 180. So it's in the money. We have a sell for the butterfly at 187.50 because that looks like a fair resistance zone. And we've got a little bit more downside on the butterfly because the expectation is that in the next 3 weeks, Hershey is not going to go to the moon. So this one is $1.65. If we bought the 180 by itself, it would be $6.90. Selling it, putting together a butterfly and selling the 187.50 moves our price to 165, which if everything expired today, we'd have almost 100% return on this butterfly. So it is a very nice space. Feels nerve-wracking. I know it feels nerve-wracking, but price action here continues to move. Even if we have a reflexive bounce in the rest of the broad market, there's going to be a continued rotation in the flight to safety until all the tariff chatter and everything else rolls around. And for many, many years, the U.S. administrations have leaned on tariffs. This is just a nice way to blow the markets up by, saying the tariffs are going to lead to the end of the world. But we've had tariffs in place for a very long time, and they work. Everybody's mouthing off right now. Things will settle in, but the market needs a natural breath. And in the natural breath, we move in flight to safety. So that's the Hershey one.
Okay.
So let's go to AppLovin, because I can't get the chart. So I will share with you what I think there's an outside chance of this absolutely returning in really big waves. Okay, so here's AppLovin. Again, March 25th. This call spread, it's moving all around, but I think you can get it for about 60 cents. You need to put it in at a limit order event. This is going to bounce. If we could look at the weekly chart, and I don't know, maybe you can help me with that, but oh, wait, did you see Hershey was just up there a second ago?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, this is in a bounce space. And
Okay,
so,
Anne-Marie, try something for me. We're going to try
Yes.
something here. I can't promise it's going to work. Let's try something. Click on the Help tab at the top there.
Uh-huh.
And then click on the System sub tab.
Mhm.
And then click the Collect Garbage button on the right.
What?
Okay. Now do me a
Run the
favor and go
test.
back to your chart tab. I swear, if this loads, I'm gonna dance. Off camera, but I'm gonna dance. Okay. Well, we tried, Anne-Marie. We
All
tried.
right,
Sometimes that collect garbage will
This is
actually
very
increase the
interesting.
performance of Thinkorswim. So just something to keep in
All
mind.
right. Thank you very much.
No
Okay,
problem.
so it's actually bouncing right now. Look at what is happening to this chain, and particularly the debit on this AppLovin event. So I suspect this is going to bounce. I would try to get this for under $1. Put it in there and see if you can get it for 75 cents. $1,000 move to the upside. It's going to have a reflexive bounce.
Mm-hmm.
If it doesn't, it's a paper cut. If it does, it's going to be absolutely fantastic. So I think AppLovin's going to 160 before it bounces to 400. Well, to each his own. And that might be certainly something that's going to happen. Right now, everybody's buying this dip, and it's a floor on a weekly chart. And so I like it a lot. I
Okay.
do like it a lot.
And so you're saying again, be patient, good till cancel order. You said, was it 75 cents or
75 cents.
Okay. And that
Yeah.
thing's kind of floating around there. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one that I have on the list is AbbVie. Okay, look at how far the market has fallen today. This thing is off by 43 cents. Strength after strength after strength after strength. It is a flight to safety event. And if we have a bounce, it's going to be huge. Now, I put this trade together yesterday. And so it's moving in a space that might actually push it a little further. So I'm going to try and get it a little bit cheaper. We're going to go 215 to 25. And then to 35. Oh my gosh, 35. Okay, so that's about $1.83. Not the cheapest butterfly out there, but what I have noticed, and we've talked about this in times past, these butterflies that we spend a little bit more on in markets like this that are holding their floors and starting to do well, They have been paying in space. It's just spades. Absolutely fantastic. Love them. Now, if you say to yourself, well, I mean, is it going to continue up? Do I have a lot of room to the upside? I would say not quite yet. We have a reflexive bounce that should last, I don't know, 3 to 10 days. And then as we move back into options expiry, we're going to fall into a whole new regime of additional volatility. And so the reason I have these positions on so close to expiration is because I think the move is going to be fairly dramatic, and we're going to be able to get out really quickly with anywhere from, 100% profit. Maybe on the low end, we'll have 80%, but anywhere from 100 to 200% profit. Quick strikes, big, swift movement to the upside, and then we're out. This is
Okay.
not a place to hold in that way. All right. Let's look at the next one. I forgot.
Anne-Marie,
Yes, sir.
When you're selecting these, are you kind of going a little bit more defensive just because of what we're seeing?
100%.
Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect.
100%. Now, why? That is a really, really great question. Why am I going here? I'm going here because this is where I see big money going.
Mm-hmm.
It holds the floor. It's not got wild, erratic movements like the broad market. Dips are getting bought. It's just a nice, clean place for us to go, we might have some traction here. And we might not have it for long, but we can make a quick strike and make some cash. And that's really what I'm seeing across these spaces. So the next one, is it CPB? Campbell's Company.
Campbell's soup?
Yeah.
Good old Campbell's soup.
Yeah.
So here,
So
that's CPB is the next ticker here. Let me go ahead and throw that in the chat. I know I'm just trying to help out with tickers.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So again, on a day like today, markets look dreadful. And what are we seeing? Campbell's soup is up. Why? Rotation into safety. That's just what's happening. So it's a quick strike trade for rotation into safety. This volatility is very, very high, right? So we're looking at something that I don't like how these chains are looking today. Not a good one. Let's try Keurig.
So let me ask you another, just kind of like a strategy question there. If you come across something like that where you're like, the chains are not great, do you maybe make a note of that and check back throughout the course of the week as long as the chart doesn't get too outside of what it is? Or is that pretty much
you know what? Because there's so many things to look at, I normally go, I'll look at that.
Okay.
If it comes up on a screener again, I'll check it out. Otherwise, no. So let's see. T. Interestingly, Quest Diagnostics, who has had way too much of my money lately, Quest Diagnostics is also holding tremendously well in this particular environment. For me, what I would suppose here is doing an iron condor. I wish I could show you the range, but this April iron condor, we're collecting almost half of the spread. Very nice trade. You want to get about $1 out of this and then leave. So here's the takeaway. When the markets are extremely volatile. We have to look for quick strike events that let us get in and out. The tactical view for a market when it becomes volatile is one that is much faster paced. So as a trader, it's important to realize what kind of temperament you have. If you have the type of temperament that says, I can't trade this, step aside and wait. Step aside and wait. The market is a gigantic buffet, and you are going to find something else on the menu. Don't get FOMO. Don't feel you have to be in here, and definitely do not think that this market is going to fall through the floorboards and nobody's going to buy it. That's not the regime we've been in for the last decade and a half. They're going to come into deep areas and they're going to go, let's see if we can balance here. And that's just something that says to the trader, listen, I have to develop patience. If you talk to any of the hoary heads, that's Hoary, it's a word that means gray-headed. If you talk to any of those hoary heads, they say patience is the reason I've made money in the market. All right, so that's it, and certainly everybody's entitled to their own opinions. And my philosophy on opinions is this: they cost as much and they're worth as much as I've paid for them. So
I like that too. Amber, I got to be honest with you, really impressive one-liners today and memorable quotes. So whatever the steroids are doing, you are popping off here today. That's for sure.
All right. So the next one is a beer complex, MDLZ. Let's see what their
Mondelez?
chains. Yes. They're boozies, right? These are the
They
booze
do
guys,
snack
right?
foods like Oreos and stuff like that. Big thing here with Mondelez, or the big discussion recently with Mondelez, has been what actually is the impact going to be from the GLP-1 drugs over time?
Oh, I am going to say probably after people get tired of feeling sick and tired, they're going to be back to buying the snacks.
Yeah,
And
I think so too.
nothing makes people turn to snacks than watching something bad on television or feeling a sense of horror over whatever in the world. So that, I would say, we're good there. This is something I also think might be a nice iron condor, but there's just not enough premium sitting there. These are great charts to trade, but not really sweet for options. Take a look at this. It's up 1.5% when the market is just looking absolutely dreadful. And those are the places where you can go, hey, show me what's up today. Nothing quite like the Benzinga Pro platform to really help us do that. Oh, Tim has good one-liners.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, we're lucky with the guests that we have around here. That's about all I'm going to say to the whole thing. You guys constantly impress, whether it's market related stuff or one-liners or anything. But you and Tim could go head to head on your one-liners, no question.
Okay, so the next one would be Con Ed, right? Same March expiry as it keeps riding when things are continuing to move up. It's got very light volume. You might want to say, hey, listen, I'm just going to buy the 105s. I think there's a lot of risk there. That's super expensive in my mind, but it could easily hold and give us another 3, 4, 5% before it dips and makes another run. But Con Ed has been doing dramatically over this recent market action where things have looked really, really dippy. If you want to go to April, anticipating that it holds, you could do the 105, 110, 115s. But to me, the juice isn't worth the squeeze there,
Okay.
right? Because it is a $1.23. And so not really sweet from an options perspective. The last thing I want to do, let's go to the scanner here in Thinkorswim and let's take a look at high implied volatility scanner
Okay.
and see. Wow, take a look at that. All right.
I don't know about you, but I'm unsurprised to see the top of the list that you just had up there.
NVIDIA, right?
I mean, in all of them. There was NVIDIA. I saw a lot of the high
Tesla,
flyers up there.
yeah.
Tesla. So
Yeah. Okay, so we've got I gotta tell you, I would not be opposed to watching MicroStrategy hit. Okay, so last time we were together, we talked about MicroStrategy, and I said, hey, here's a put spread, 220, 190, 160, $30 wide. I think it was maybe going for half that. We had a spike up in price while Bitcoin was trying to recover, and then, sayonara. And I believe that Bitcoin has much further to go because it is moving just like the NQ. And when it's moving just like the NQ, it's going to pull these levered bets down in MicroStrategy. And so if we're staring down MicroStrategy and we're thinking, all right, here comes a much bigger move, you could say instead of 220, you could go to 200 and cut the size in half. So let's go to 180. So it'll be a little cheaper. Well, not that much cheaper. Maybe I do 210. 210, 200, 190. I think it loses 190. I really do. So if we want to look at this for just a couple of weeks, this 210, 200, 190, everybody's running for the fire escapes with MicroStrategy. It is a cheap short, and it's very likely to come down to that middle strike as price action moves to the south. So I really like MicroStrategy as the last one.
all right, really good stuff. We're up against it, Anne-Marie. Thank you again for fighting through, not feeling great, so that you can join us and then give us plays here. So absolutely awesome. We're going to see you on Friday.
Yes.
All right. Have a good rest of your day, Anne-Marie. Thanks again. And folks, thank you for joining us here on Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook. I'm sending you